Is he tired?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll see what happens. We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I am a dissident.
Don't move. Move.
I'm saying no, why you hear Palantir, 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 Palantir. It's not going to be stopped.
Seriously, we need to release the F-scene list.
Turns off.
I am not a church boy.
Turns off.
They're full-on vampires.
They hate our beef. They hate our beef. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all. What's that? Oh, it's the wrong microphone? Oh, that's fine. Yep. Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all, to a belated Sunday evening edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobula, of course.
Hello.
Rushing back in here. Forgot to check the mic setting. Hey, thanks, everybody, for being here. We apologize. My internet's working again, but Rumble Studio just failed to connect to YouTube. And the only other option, aside from troubleshooting, because you can't troubleshoot a Rumble stream once it gets started, it's analog style back there. They got a parrot and a crank there, I guess, working the tech. We had no choice but to just start the whole thing over. So we apologize about that, but thank you very much for being here tonight. We are doing
look, we can tell them the truth, man. As you know, I was going to do my China special tonight. The Chinese did not offer enough money.
Yeah.
So we're negotiating maybe next week. Next week. We're gonna have to kick a little bit up.
Yeah,
a little bit up.
Exactly.
We need to give that kind of glowing review that they expect.
Right. That's right. Russ is holding out.
Pay me a little more for that. A few more yuan.
Yeah, exactly. Let's. All right, beautiful. So great crowd in here to start things off tonight. We got 928 strong in the YouTube chat, 395 over on Rumble. Appreciate everybody being here. We want to just say at the outset, because we had to switch streams, Jake sent out a new newsletter. So for Q&A later, in order to call in, you'll need the new link. So you just got to check your email again. Jake sent out new links for everybody. So make sure you use the new call-in link, because the old call-in link will go to an old StreamYard setup. So if you want that new link, you need the new link to call in this evening. So make sure that you get all set up there. Please and thank you very much. A lot of news today. A lot of news.
In all seriousness, let me get a couple things out of the way. All right, so because I know everybody wants to see the rest of this.
Yes, there you go.
That's the full shirt. As far as the China special goes, so I was gonna do it tonight, and then I started working on it, and yeah, man, that's a lot. It's a lot for me to do it the way that people who are really interested in that are gonna want it. That's gonna take a little time. I wouldn't even say, I would say next week's a little optimistic. I would say 2 weeks is realistic.
Right.
Because that's like 16 sections, multiple videos. It's going to be a lot. So that's the deal.
So yes, to clarify, Russ is not being paid by the Chinese to do the China segments. No. We instead are holding it off for quality reasons, quality control purposes.
Quality control. Yes.
Lots of news today to get to. News and politics can be like baseball. Baseball, you're up, and then boom, you're down. A week ago, there was this pitcher had a no-hitter carrying it into the ninth inning, into the bottom of the ninth. His team was up 1-0. He had a no-hitter going, walks a guy, boom, 2-run home run. Next batter goes from pitching a no-hitter to losing the game in about 2 minutes. And that's the way news can be. That's the way politics can be. We thought we were going to go MAGA again. We thought Trump was going to end the war, and that the Zionists were going to crash out and we were going to get to say, hey, art of the deal, look at that. And then, boom, all fell apart. It can all happen just like that. Can all happen just like that. You know, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So much news. We're not even covering Tulsi's resignation, but Tulsi Gabbard out as DNI.
I mean, if we had covered that, I would have covered it from the Slotkin angle.
Yeah, Slotkin's now looking to make a comeback. Yeah, Tulsi's husband, he has bone cancer, poor guy. I feel bad for that guy because, you know, when he's like a surfer dude, like when he married Tulsi, she was based. Like the person he married is not the person she turned into. Like there was that lovely video that they made of him playing Imagine on a ukulele and them singing a duet of Imagine.
Never saw it.
Could you imagine Tulsi singing Imagine now? Could you imagine them do it as a completely different person? Imagine there's no Islam. It's easy if you try.
I mean,
hell below us.
See, that's the thing when you marry a succubus.
Yeah.
They can tell you they're going to change, but in the end, they give you bone cancer.
Yeah, exactly. So, not good. Believe me, not good. But yeah, got a lot of stuff to get to tonight. Running a little behind schedule due to some technical errors, but we are back up and running. Had to do the old turn it off and turn it back on trick. That was the problem.
Yeah.
Rumble was not connecting to YouTube, and so we just had to disconnect and reconnect. And it's amazing how often that works. You know, turn it off and turn it back on. What would we do without the turn off and turn back on trick? What if that didn't work? I think human civilization would be over by now.
Probably.
People would just have gone insane.
Well, that's a lot of people think that Plato's myth of the cave is actually describing the on-off switch for the Earth. If you follow the clues, you'll find it.
Yeah, you turn it off and turn it back on again. That's how you got to do it. All right, folks, let's get started. Thanks, everybody, for bearing with us and for being here tonight. Appreciate you all. Jake is in the booth. If you sent a super chat or a Rumble rant, we should have it screenshotted and saved, so we will get to it from the previous stream. Sorry about that. And let's get rolling. Okay, so I mentioned, it was going to be a lot of good news tonight. And now there's not so much good news tonight, but there is a little good news tonight. And that is that judge has dropped criminal case against Kilmar Abrego Garcia, deeming it vindictive. A federal judge on Friday dismissed the Justice Department's human smuggling case against Kilmar Abrego Garcia, ruling that the Trump administration improperly brought it to punish him for successfully challenging his illegal deportation last year. U.S. District Judge Waverly D. Crenshaw Jr. in Tennessee wrote that evidence before this court sadly reflects an abuse of prosecuting power. I understand it's very, very rare that a judge says that a case needs to be tossed because of vindictive and malicious prosecution. That does not happen very often.
Yeah,
so that shows you how obvious it was in this case, which is what we said from the very beginning. The decision delivered an extraordinary defeat for the administration, which marshaled the resources of multiple federal agencies to publicly malign Abrego after court rulings concluded that officials had unlawfully deported him to his native El Salvador in violation of a 2019 immigration court order. In a decision released Friday afternoon, the judge acknowledged the incredibly high bar defendants must meet to warrant a case's dismissal on those grounds. It requires defense attorneys to prove that charges would not have been brought but for improper vindictive motives on the part of government attorneys. Crenshaw, who was appointed by President Barack Obama, that explains it, an Obama judge, a commie judge, wrote that in Abrego's case, it was clear that the investigation into him was tainted with a vindictive motive. The judge wrote in a 32-page opinion that while he found insufficient evidence of actual vindictiveness, he also concluded that the Trump administration failed to rebut the presumption of vindictiveness. Crenshaw said he did not reach the conclusion lightly, but the evidence, he wrote, showed that if Abrego had not challenged his deportation, the Trump administration would not have brought this case. So this is separate from the deportation proceeding. The Justice Department assailed the decision. Another activist judge has placed politics. It's a shame Pam Bondi's not there anymore.
I swear to God, that's what I was thinking. I really miss Blanche Dubois Bondi.
Another
moments like
activist
this.
judge has placed politics above public safety.
Yeah.
It's the only time where you wish you were there still.
Yeah.
A spokesperson said in a statement the judge's order is wrong and dangerous, and we will appeal. we will revive Pam Bondi's career.
Her ghost lingers.
Yeah, for purposes of impersonation and mockery. Despite Crenshaw's decision, U.S. immigration authorities have previously signaled they still intend to deport Abrego, 31, who entered the country illegally from El Salvador as a teen. But their ability to do so has been temporarily blocked by a federal court ruling from Maryland, where Abrego lives with his wife, a U.S. citizen, and children. Abrego praised the judge's ruling. Justice is a big word and an even bigger promise to fulfill, and I am grateful that today justice has taken a step forward, he said in a statement released by We Are CASA, an immigration advocacy group. So when you talk about malicious prosecution, abuse of power, just understand the railroading of this man. The obvious railroading of this man from day one was a real sign that this second Trump term was going to be a total nightmare. It's a very, very important case. That's why we covered it as closely as we did at the time, because it was very, very obvious that what they were trying to do was see if they could just deport people to a foreign country, even improperly. And then once they were ordered to bring him back, say, well, that's not our problem anymore.
Oopsie.
He's not in our jurisdiction anymore. It's up to the foreign leader to decide whether or not to return him. So if you remember, when Bukele was at the White House, he was asked about returning Abrego Garcia. This is back when Abrego Garcia, of course, was in CCOT. And he said, no, I can't do that. I'm not going to smuggle a terrorist back into America.
In the Oval Office with the president and leader of the free world, we're very happy and we're very eager to help. We know that you have a crime problem, a terrorism problem that you need help with. And we're a small country, but if we can help, we will do it.
President, do you plan to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported? The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost,
Yay,
he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country.
Can President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well,
I have to talk to Crockett and Tubbs.
Yeah.
The United States, right? How can I return him to the United States? Like I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, I mean, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
A terrorist. See, this is why they threw out the case due to malice. And then who could forget this? Trump literally thinks the MS-13 labeled on the pictures are actual tattoos. Yes, he's that fucking dumb. Remember this? I mean, this is really in the Hall of Fame in terms of like dumbest video clips ever. Of course, the marijuana, the smile, the cross, and the skull, which somebody labeled MS-13 as if that's what that stood for. Mm-hmm. What I've heard it stands for, which I don't know for a fact, but it makes a hell of a lot more sense, is smoke weed to get high, praise God till you die. I mean, that makes perfect sense. That's what it looks like it says to me. But Trump actually thought that the coded symbols, which were clearly photoshopped on there, not even for the purposes of deceiving people, but just as a key to signify what they meant, he actually thought that he had the figures MS-13 on his finger. Remember this?
Gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute.
Well, wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
Oh, he had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshopped. So let me
That was Photoshopped. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. But I picked you, Terry. But you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture.
And you think it was Photoshop? Well,
here we go.
Don't Photoshop.
Okay, so not only was this...
Dude, that is some Christopher Guest shit.
Of course.
Do you want me to show you the picture?
But not only was this Donald Trump at his dumbest, but this was also journalism at its worst. Because of course, what's the number one rule of improv? Always say yes. If you're a journalist and you have the opportunity to explain to the president that, no, what you're looking at is a key to an image, not an actual tattoo, of course you say, yes, let's take the photo out, Mr. President. I'll show you what I mean. And who knows, maybe Trump, maybe he has a like, because he clearly, like, Trump is a total liar, but he's clearly not lying here. I mean, he clearly really believes that it says that.
Yeah.
So you had the opportunity to take him out and show it, and you might get interesting. Stephen, did you tell me that was MS? Get out here. Let's bring the team out here. Now, who told me?
You told me that was real.
You told me that was real. You told me that was real. What are you doing to me? I mean, so I think the interviewer did just as bad a job there as Trump. But here is Chris Van Hollen, a guy who, to his credit, showed tremendous courage going down to El Salvador and going to bat for his constituent, I guess, a Maryland man, because this was a very, very important time where the administration was trying to set the precedent that we could basically just disappear whoever we want, and as long as we do it fast enough, there's nothing anybody can do about it.
Right.
And if that had succeeded, we'd be living in even darker times than we are right now. And it is largely due to the work of Chris Van Hollen and some of his other colleagues who went down there, who forced this story into the mainstream, that got him out of CCOT, which was a huge, I mean, that's really the main part of the battle from a political standpoint. So let's take a look at this.
Just determined what we've really known all along, which is that the Trump administration's criminal case against Kilmar Abrego Garcia was well trumped up. The judge said that it was a selective and vindictive prosecution. And the fact is the Trump administration brought this case against Kilmar Abrego Garcia because he chose to exercise his constitutional due process rights after they illegally disappeared him to El Salvador. So this is an important win for the rule of law, but underscores once again that the Trump administration's Justice Department is simply an arm of Donald Trump himself. They don't stand up for the rule of law. In fact, they undermine the rule of law. This case has never been about one man. It's never been about Kilmar Abrego Garcia alone. It's been about all of our rights, because if you trample on his rights, you threaten all of our rights. So this was a good day, but the Trump administration will continue its vindictive efforts. Let's keep going.
Yes, of course, they are going to appeal this decision because they are just not going to let this go. But at every level, they have been thwarted by the courts in this case because the railroading of this man was just so obvious from day one. It was so obviously mean-spirited. It was so obviously political, and so obviously not done in the interest of border security or law and order or any of those things. And, this was an early sign that this administration was going to be a total nightmare. And this happened at a time when Trump's popularity ratings were essentially at their peak. He tried to get this done March, April of last year when he still had an approval rating of 45 to 50%, which for him is a high, virtually unanimous approval within the Republican Party. So he had a lot of political capital here, especially on the immigration issue. And so for guys like Van Hollen to stick their neck out on an issue like this, there was really no political upside to it. But it's a good thing they did. It's a good thing they did. And it's a good thing that in this case, it seems the judicial system seems to be doing its job.
Yeah, this is when I think about some of the moments in this presidency since the election that have made me most disgusted with sectors of American society. It was definitely this. Like the absolute moronic chanting of, oh yeah, he's a Maryland man. Oh yeah, he's a Maryland man. It was just, that's the kind of shit that just makes you say, This country really deserves to just go up in flames. That was one of the most disgusting displays of jingoism and one of the most horrifying examples of, the country is, spoken of as a fascist nation, as a totalitarian nation. It's really a Jerry Springer nation. That is what it is. It is a bunch of people trying to be in the studio audience and not on the stage as the subject. Oh yeah, it's the Maryland man. He's the Maryland man. I'm not the Maryland man. He's the Maryland man. It's so disgusting. And it just, the fascist appeals always involve this stabbed in the back element, right? You got stabbed in the back. That's kind of what underlies all of this. It's very bleak when you see how easy it was to get huge swaths of the population to go along with something that so obviously is a threat to your freedom. And that's the point Van Hollen made there. That's the point we made at the time. It's not even about him. Not about him. It's about how dangerous it is if you let them do this.
Right. If he's a criminal, bring him back and prove it.
And you point out Trump was at the height of his popularity. He didn't stay that way because he's awful. He's awful. He's not a president. He's a puppet for the interests around him that manipulate him into doing terrible things. And you combine that terrible things for himself politically, for his own political interest. And you combine that with his narcissism and his greed that would make him just, do these obvious corrupt crypto deals from day one, really, just obvious cartoonish corruption. But when you think back to that moment, where you essentially had a fascist army in waiting, and a lot of them didn't stay in waiting. A lot of those freaking cracker, white supremacist, racist motherfuckers went and joined ICE. That's how you wound up with people getting shot. I promise you, there's a lot of Venn diagram overlap between people who are screaming Maryland man and people who applied to be ICE agents during the big push to hire these people. And we could see the result. If Trump had made better moves, if he had been less owned by Israel, he could have ridden that into a real fascist takeover. But he fucked up his popularity too much. Like, he doesn't have enough support. If he had been able to demonstrate, the economy's great, he got us out of the wars. What I saw at that moment, not just with the Abrego Garcia thing, but with a lot of other things, with the USAID and all that, if he had played his cards better, you would have had a lot of people, even people who should have known better, who would have supported a fascist takeover of this country. I saw a lot of that in Abrego Garcia, almost more than anything else that happened during all of this.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an early sign. There was some disappointment and some sense of betrayal over the Doge cuts, which were not popular amongst most people. If you remember, Marjorie Taylor Greene got shouted down in town hall over Doge, right? So there were early signs that they were going to overplay their hand. But despite that, his poll numbers were still pretty high. He had a lot of capital, which meant that was a really, really precarious time because he had won the election based on a promise to deport the violent criminals. And they just made up that this guy was someone who I'm not going to say he wasn't. I'm going to say the onus is on the government to prove their case.
Right.
So, like, if you can't prove beyond a reasonable doubt that a guy's a criminal, then you can't just disappear him to some fucking foreign.
Well, and you can't do that anyway.
And that's what they tried to do. Yeah, exactly. So, no, it was a mistaken deportation. And you had the Supreme Court say 9-0. You had to bring him back, and he wasn't bringing him back. And no, I mean, you had a real crisis on your hands. That was a very, very serious case that I think a lot of people did not take as seriously as they should have at the time because it was a new presidency and people still had some kind of hope that this was going to be, something other than what it is. But it didn't work out that way.
I'm sorry. There's a little reporting on this now. This was all around the same time. And again, who are we? Who are me and Kate? We're a couple of schmucks, right? We saw that USAID, what they're going to do is strip out the good parts and keep the regime change parts. And that's exactly what happened. They didn't get rid of USAID. USAID moved into the State Department. Now it's controlled by Marco Rubio. They got rid of giving people AIDS prevention, and they kept the overthrowing government parts. It's amazing to me that so many people who are experts in deep state and the workings of government got rid. Oh yeah, no, these guys, what they're gonna do is clean up corruption and get rid of the ability to do black ops. Yeah, no, these really seem like the kind of people who are interested in doing that. Incredible, man. That's a moment that is going to be poured over and examined and litigated at a future date. Quite a lot.
So you're saying they kept the aid in USAID?
They kept they kept the AIDS.
The aid and the S. Yeah. You can't spell USAID without AIDS. There you go. That's a good slogan for them.
That is a good slogan. Yeah.
They should.
If anyone from the State Department's watching,
you want to run?
That's a free one.
Hey, Marco, we think you're going to probably run in 2028. There's a good one. Can't spell USAID without AIDS. There you go. Boom.
Yep. And a lot more people have it because of us.
That's right. You can still sloganeer your way out of this, maybe, huh? All right. Michael Castillo, this is from the previous stream. We saved it so that we didn't rip you off. Good evening, gentlemen. I thought the whole Tucker segment was natural comedic gold. Just FYI, you both had that Tucker impersonation almost spot on. Oh, thank you. That was absolutely beautiful and hilarious. We are all Palestine. Thank you, Michael Castillo. Peter Monahan says this White House pop is other fucking BS. Just another way to bleed billions out of the taxpayers. Another grift to make us who are struggling to pay for his delusional vanity. Love you guys. Thank you, Peter. Yeah, that was some timing, right? Just as there was about to be an Iran deal. We'll get into that. Everything's a scam, says Vianticus. Everything's a lie. Everything's hypocrisy, and so you don't comply. Vianticus says, I saw Jimmy Dore say the thing on a segment the other day. It was a proud parent moment for me. Ha. Oh, what? Your everything's a scam, everything's a lie?
Oh, really?
Did he quote you? There you go. Nice.
Oh, that's funny.
It was obvious by Keaton's hair that there was a technical difficulties. Yes. I thought you were going to say my hair was the technical difficulty, but yeah, no, I did not even have time to like go in and like pat my hair down. I'm not yet my usual groomed self.
All right. You know what? So I'm seeing this. I keep meaning to say this on the show because we get these comments a lot about audio consistency. All right. So I think we've mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it one more time. So if say you go to like a professional studio, like a show that's being done professionally, like say Jimmy's show, there's like a guy working levers for the whole show to make sure the sound is all balanced. That's the only way you get that. Like that's the only way you're going to play a video and it's at the same level as the audio's at the same level in the next video. The only way you're going to get that, unless, I guess if you spent maybe an hour or two making sure all the videos are at the same level, you could do that. That's why when you watch those shows that have a lot more money than we do, they have an audio engineer. Right. And that's what he does. He sits there and he whole show rides the levels to make sure everything's equal. That is not going to happen here until one of you tonight gives us $5,000.
I was going to say, yes. So what you need to know is we're not going to hire somebody to do it right, and we're not going to take the time to do it right ourselves. Just understand that.
That's yeah. You see, Keaton has a gift for brevity.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We're not.
He's very good at getting to the bottom line.
Let me tell you two things we're not going to do. We're not going to invest in the show, and we're not going to improve the show. Okay? Let's get that straight right now. Okay? Those are two things we are not willing to do. All right? So just understand that.
There's a limit to what we're willing to do. Okay?
Yeah.
Making the show better is not one of them.
Exactly. All right, very well. All right, let's go take some more. B Shoot Skeet, thanks for the super sticker. Appreciate that. French Laundry, thanks for the super sticker. Appreciate that. Danny D, why would Tulsi quit her job? Wouldn't she need the employer-connected health insurance to help pay for her hubby's treatment? Yeah, it's a good question. Where are they paying for that health care now? That is a good question. I don't know. I don't know what he does. Hopefully he's got good coverage. All right, why don't we move right on along?
All right. There we go. Okay, so this shirt, I swear to God, I'm going to go to the Upper West Side because that's like, to quote Goodfellas, it's like you died and went to Jew heaven. So I'm going to go to the Upper West Side wearing this shirt, and I'm just going to be ready to film when I get attacked by Zionists. I promise you, I walk around the Upper West Side with this shirt. I'll go to like Ben's Deli over there or something. Someplace where I'm really going to provoke a reaction. I've got this one, and I've got another one, but the words are at the bottom, so you wouldn't see it. That's also a skull. No more wars for Israel.
All right, like Zabar's, you know.
Go to Zabar's.
You know what you should really do if you really
I'm gonna go to all their hangouts.
If you really want to confuse them, go in with that shirt and ask for a job application. Go ask if they're hiring.
Go to Katz's.
Yeah. Ask if they're hiring.
All right. Okay, so here we go. All right. So TPUSA, as we call them, for reasons I'm sure you can figure out. They're facing backlash. This is from Shadow of Ezra after claiming Charlie Kirk would no longer support Thomas Massie if he were alive today.
I know a little bit more about the Thomas Massie loss, and what's your thoughts on that?
I got so many thoughts. It's interesting, David. I've been accused, I think the organization's been accused, Erica's been accused of betraying Charlie by not coming out and endorsing one way or the other and not being more involved in that race. I will tell you, and I haven't said this publicly, but and I know this isn't necessarily a question, but it's an opportunity to address
I haven't said this publicly because, it's in poor taste to lie about a guy who's not here to defend himself because he was killed. So I haven't said this publicly yet, but I guess I will because
I held out for a bonus, and now that bonus has cleared.
Yeah.
I will tell you, and I haven't said this publicly, but and I know this isn't necessarily a question, but it's an opportunity to address it. But, after the One Big Beautiful Bill vote, and I want to respect Charlie's privacy as well. It's always the tension in all of this. There's private conversations. Charlie was a fan of Thomas Massie, especially historically, liked him on war, liked him on being a budget hawk and spending.
Epstein.
But he was pretty frustrated that Massie didn't vote on in the affirmative on the Big Beautiful Bill because it was essentially the totality of President Trump's first-year agenda wrapped into one bill. And I will just say, privately, Charlie was really, really frustrated.
Yeah, I think that's the right way to put it. And I think he would have become more frustrated over the events of the past 9 months, which is we liked what Massie said. We liked his libertarian credentials. We liked him making the debt clock that ran on the little
and I
lapel
still like
pin.
Massie.
And there's so many things to like about him, but he has, especially over the past few months, he's become the number one, let's put it, Republican gadfly. Republican who gets in Trump's way, criticizes Trump, and not just on debt or the war, but also on Epstein, saying that where there's this pedophile class that Trump is allied to, essentially.
Yeah. Kirk was pro-Epstein.
I think Charlie would have been, as you said, very frustrated. He would have, and Charlie was not a guy who would feud publicly. He would have certainly been messaging Massie about that and being like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And he would have been very concerned with it.
Well,
we don't know exactly what he'd say.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Us being honest.
He'd probably say the exact opposite of what you're implying right now that he would have said after he's been killed. That is about as classless as it gets, I have to say. That is that is a low. That is a new low for people who strike me as abject lowlifes to begin with.
Yeah, well, they've moved on from making a living off the enterprise. Now they're making a living off of their handlers from a certain foreign nation. That's where the money's coming from now.
About it.
Yeah, but I will tell you that I had some very candid conversations after the Big Beautiful Bill where he voiced his frustration to me privately.
Yeah, I'm sure that happened.
Yeah. No, that's just, you got to be scum, but you got to be scum with the whole thing, man. I mean, Erica Kirk, whatever you think about, her role or lack thereof in the actual assassination of Charlie Kirk, that woman is absolutely a stone cold psychopath who jumped right on taking over this organization, greatly to the detriment of her children, which is a funny thing for such a family values organization to support. But as Greg here points out, look at these parasites shamelessly try to rewrite history. Charlie and Thomas were staunchly against this war. Notice how they didn't mention that. And critical of people like Lindsay Graham. And Charlie wanted the Epstein clients exposed. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. You listen to him here. What do you think he would have had to say about them not releasing the Epstein list?
That Epstein, with his little friend Ghislaine and Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell, who was obviously a spy of the Israeli intelligence agencies, that there was something else going on here. Epstein was not some sort of whiz kid hedge fund manager. Epstein was playing a part. Epstein was a LARPer. Epstein was cast for a specific role, and he played it really well. The sweatpants and the Harvard jacket, the kind of disheveled hair, looking as if he was so smart and above the clouds that he was doing advanced mathematic equations on the back of napkins. But if you actually go into some of the videos of people that met with Epstein at the time, they said he was awfully unimpressive when it came to finance and markets and economics. And it's nothing new that if you're in the intel agencies, you want to try and get as much blackmail on powerful people as possible. Easy. Not hard. And this is no longer just speculation. First of all, the evidence that shows that Epstein was a creation of either Mossad, Israeli intelligence, American intelligence, Saudi intelligence, or maybe he was just a hired gun. Maybe he was just the guy that countries would go to and park a couple $100 million and say, hey, can you get one of the members of the royal family with a 13-year-old so we can get them to do what we want to do? Members of Congress are actively being blackmailed. The Epstein playbook is being used on a daily basis. Jeffrey Epstein was not a financier. He was not a hedge fund manager. Jeffrey Epstein was a key player in a multi-decade blackmail operation against the most powerful people on the planet.
Okay, this was the problem with Charlie Kirk. And this is why you might speculate they needed him removed. 99% of these people in conservative media are plants. They're ops. They're just propped up. People like Nick Shirley, people like Jack Posobiec, people like Benny in the Closet. They'll say anything you pay them to say. They don't have any actual principles. Charlie Kirk was for real. Whether you liked what he had to say or did not, this guy was a true crusader who was actually saying what he actually thought. He was actually building a conservative movement around what he believed in. That made him extremely dangerous when he started talking about how he didn't like what his Israeli partners were doing and what their nation was doing. They could not have a guy with Charlie's influence and power and conviction that they don't own changing his mind. They could. What would that have been like now if Trump went into Iran and Charlie were out there expressing his convictions? That would have been a fucking nightmare for them. So
big enough. Sorry, I thought you were done.
It's a lot of motive. There's a lot of motive. When you look at the fact pattern, this just came out recently. They lied. They said they were planning on repaving that area the whole time. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. The contractor said he got an emergency call to do. Why would that happen? Come on, man. The idea there's nothing to see here. ridiculous.
Ridiculous. You got to be a total imbecile to buy that. Look at how disastrous it's been to have Tucker Carlson turn on Trump. I mean, that has taken its toll. We're going to do a segment either tonight or Tuesday. It's iffy because we got off to a late start. We don't want to keep people here to 1 a.m. But we're going to do a story where they took internal polling and there is really a rift within the conservative movement based on the fact that a lot of the high profile influencers went off the reservation. You don't think Charlie Kirk would have been on that list when Donald Trump burned MAGA when he said, Alex Jones, Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens? I guarantee you Charlie Kirk's name
Kirk would have been on the other side.
100%. 100% he would have. Yep. Because if he were the guy to just shut up and play ball, he'd have never had a run in with the Zionist donors in the first place. Yes. Right? If you're the kind of guy who just does what he's told, then it never would have been a problem.
Wouldn't have been a problem.
But so the fact that it was a little bit of a problem means it was going to be a huge problem. And if that doesn't make you suspicious about his murder, then man, you are one gullible guy. That's all I can say about that.
He was potentially, if he had lived and gone on that side of the split, he would have been the most dangerous of them all. He would have been more dangerous than Candace. He would have been more dangerous than Tucker.
I'll tell you what would have happened.
The organization that he had control of, that he could have just burned down Trump's whole movement.
If he were alive and they tried to primary Massie, he could have mobilized his entire movement behind Massie. He could have gotten more young people to the polls because everybody 55 and under voted for Massie. It was the boomers who, vote before 6 o'clock at night so they can go make the early bird special after they vote because the polls close at 6 o'clock in Kentucky. They'd have made sure to have a higher youth turnout. Would that have made the difference? Don't know for certain. It would have been a hell of a lot closer than it was. A hell of a lot closer than it was. And of course he'd have supported Massie. What are you kidding? He's going to support Ed Goldrein, or he's going to sit on the sidelines like these fucking pencil neck cowards? No, of course not. That's not who he was. He was a leader. He's a leader for whatever you think of him. We had plenty of criticisms. He was part of the railroading of Kilmar there, who we just did a segment of. So we had plenty of criticisms, but he was a leader. That was a leader. That's not one of these fucking geeks. That he was not a pencil pusher.
Exactly. And that's why they couldn't have him around.
No.
James Lee, FYI, the show is now being run by a registered foreign agent of Israel. Seriously, look it up. I'm not joking. Same ones that run Scott Jennings. So Thomas Massie jumped this was onto James Lee's thread he jumped into. Grok, is it true that the Charlie Kirk show is now distributed by a registered foreign agent of Israel? He didn't get an answer from Grok, so he said again, sorry, Grok, I can't find your answer in the replies. What's the connection between Israel and the syndicator of the Charlie Kirk show? And then very small account here, just Natalie. Here's your answer, Rep. Thomas Massie. Interesting why Grok has ignored Mr. Massie twice, but relied to a small account on that matter. LOL, Elon Musk.
Grok is going to Me Too Thomas Massie. It's going to be the first Me Too involving an AI. He tried to sexually harass me.
Yeah. So here's Grok's answer. The syndicator of the Charlie Kirk show is Salem Media Group's Salem Radio Network, a conservative Christian media company. This is the same one Scott Jennings works for. Salem has long promoted strong pro-Israel content, including live broadcasts from Israel's tours and partnerships with pro-Israel organizations aligned with evangelical Christian values and biblical perspectives on Israel. Recent FARA filings note affiliated PR efforts for Israeli messaging. I'm Grok, blah, blah, blah. Not influenced by anyone. Oh, really? So why won't you answer Thomas Massie?
I am Grok, not owned by the Jews. Yes.
Not owned by the Jews, unlike my owner. And Brad Parscale, who is the chief strategy officer there, is literally a former campaign manager for Trump and a registered foreign agent for Israel. And another guy showed it'll answer him, Michael the Libertarian. That silence is exceedingly deafening. Odd that it's fine answering other people, though. No, it's not odd. He's in the files. Elon's in the files asking when the wildest parties are going to be. He put on the kippa with Mr. Eyebrows over here. He's right next to Shapiro. Look at him. He's doing the whole humiliation ritual. He's in the files. He was talking the same kind of white supremacist provocations that he drops 50 times a day on X. He did a little bit of that with the Jews, and they called him. They said, Elon, you remember the 9-year-old twins? We have video for that. Maybe you want to go to Auschwitz and sing a different tune, my friend, or we're going to have to release it. And there he is. There he is. Elon, all his posturing. There is nothing more pathetic than an Elon son, especially now that those emails came out. This is Thomas Massie's legislative director here, Raphael. Andrew Colvett. Didn't you call our office a few months ago, March 12th, 2026, to be exact, profusely apologizing for TPUSA posting a video of Thomas Massie labeling him a rhino, that you blamed it on some 20-year-old TPUSA intern excited about Jake Paul, and that you would have never allowed it? Didn't you ask us to express your sincere apologies to Massie, and that TPUSA was not going to get involved with the race, but that you personally wanted Massie to win? What changed? Were you lying then, or did you get some new money in the interim? That's it. We know who owns them now. Didn't they have like no attendance at their last thing? Like, haven't they been canceling events for lack of interest?
The Vance and Erica Kirk event was so poorly attended, Erica Kirk canceled.
She canceled, right?
She said there was a security threat, but
the
Secret Service said
They
no, there
made
was no credible security threat, and that was with Vance. So then they brought in Trump because they knew he would draw a crowd. But no, they've been it's been not good. Believe me, not good.
Yeah. So who's paying them? We know who's paying them. So Fat Randy, of course, memeing on this. Fat Randy. This is pretty funny. The Babylon BB. TPUSA begins book tour promoting Charlie Kirk's convenient posthumous work, Why I Support This Iran War. Yeah, any day now. And our friend Jimmy here. At this point, I firmly believe that these guys are just doing shows so we can make fun of them and get a good laugh. I mean, I appreciate it. Ching, ching. Ching, ching. You know what these guys are for us? These guys are the Mandalorian and Grogu for us. You know, they're keeping us in business. And Thomas Massie. I lost my election on the 6-month anniversary of the Epstein Files Transparency Act becoming law. Those buggers don't waste any time. Yeah, everybody knows what's going on. Come on. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, these people, they're the scum of the earth. It's really interesting watching all of these figures who are so deeply unpopular with the vast majority of the country, and even the vast majority of the conservative movement that they claim to represent. Can they just continue to be propped up? It's funny. It's the bizarro universe version of a lot of people. I mentioned the Mandalorian and Grogu because right now, all the nerd channels are dining out on that. A lot of people pointed out, myself included, that they kept making these Hollywood movies in a way that was really repulsive to most people because they could afford to, because they were getting this investment money from State Street, from Goldman Sachs, that would, so they didn't have to think in terms of normal math. So the question is, well, the economy is so financialized. Can they just keep making movies for propaganda purposes that pleases their investors because they don't really need people to like it anymore? That's kind of what you're seeing with this now. It's like, can they just keep going like this? Because the economy is so tilted that the people who are paying them, they're making so much money elsewhere that this is worth their time. They can just keep paying to keep this propaganda out there, to keep boosting it in the algorithm, even though it has no meaningful audience. Really. It will be interesting to see how that progresses, Because normal business principles, these guys would have collapsed after Charlie died.
Yeah, it is. It's obviously the whole thing just stinks. And, whatever you think about the murder itself, the crime itself, or who is responsible for it, what you could say beyond a reasonable doubt is that, these people are just so shameless in their willingness to essentially speak ill of their dead friend. I mean, that's basically what you're doing. You're making up that he would have been fine with the Iran war, that he would have been, indifferent about Thomas Massie's primary. He said Thomas Massie was his favorite congressperson.
Right.
Not mention the Epstein files when talking about Charlie Kirk's apparent souring on Thomas Massie when you just saw Thomas Massie lost on the 6-month anniversary of that release. Does anybody believe Trump would have gone after Thomas Massie if Thomas Massie had not been so instrumental in pulling the handful of Republican votes necessary to release those Epstein files? Does anybody think Thomas Massie would be out of Congress or about to be out of Congress if he didn't go to bat for the cause of releasing those Epstein files? Of course not.
Of course.
They don't mention that in that monologue at all. You just pretend that he'd have been fine with everything Trump's doing now. It's absolutely diabolical. It's totally diabolical. Like to say things like that about your supposed friend who obviously cannot correct the record anymore. Like think of what a lowlife you have to be to do that. Think of just how amoral you have to be.
Well, you gotta
just make up things about this friend of yours who was killed in this horrible way. Let's say you had nothing to do with it. I don't think they had anything to do with it, but I know they are complicit in a cover-up, and I know that they're making shit up about how Charlie Kirk would have led this organization that they're now leading. They are now basically treating Turning Point USA as a run-of-the-mill Republican PAC.
Right.
Which is a de facto Zionist PAC.
Well, remember, this whole podcast media space created a new type of animal, the influencer political commentator.
Right.
Like, really, you have to remember, this is what I always talk about being at the Rescue the Republic backstage and seeing how much it was about networking. I will say, Ian Carroll, actually, I had some interesting conversations with. Like, he was not really doing that. Like, we talked about chaos and, weird tales of Topanga Canyon. And, we were talking about what you would expect him to be interested in.
Right.
So I didn't feel like it was a put on. Pretty much everybody else that I didn't know personally, like, Garland Nixon, obviously, not like that. But the whole scene was pretty much about networking. Remember, these guys, man, they're really no different than the influencer who's making sure to pose in front of the thing and making sure their hair is right. That's what they are. They just happen to be in one particular niche of influencer. They could be selling lipstick. It wouldn't matter. Like, that's what they're in it for. And that's why they have no ethics, because the point is to continue to make a living as an influencer. They're not really activists. They're influencers whose shtick is to pretend that they're activists.
Exactly. All right, we're going to move right on along here. Before we do, just a quick word from Rumble Wallet. So, quick question for you all. How much control do you actually have over your money right now? Technology has drastically changed the way people manage their money and the control that banks have over your money. Rumble is joining the new currency space through Rumble Wallet, which takes all of the complexity of the new economy and makes it super simple. You choose what you want: Bitcoin, dollar-backed stablecoin, or even digital gold backed by real gold. There's no complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in minutes. And once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like us directly, which is a huge perk because through Rumble Wallet, we keep nearly 100% of what you send us, as opposed to other platforms, which take a pretty large cut. So it's a great way to get in on the free speech creator economy and support your favorite creators. So do it now. Scan this QR code on the screen or click the link and download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. That's wallet.rumble.com. Or you can scan that QR code. Sending a Rumble rant through your Rumble wallet in the currency of your choosing is just as easy and quick as sending it any other way. It works exactly the same way. No added steps. It's super user-friendly, super simple. So in just a few minutes, you can be up and running on Rumble Wallet. The QR code's there, wallet.rumble.com on your browser. Okay, let's move right on along. All right, Russ, you want to take some chats and some rants with EO Shush there? Before you do, if you're joining late, if you're joining the show in progress and you are a member, and you plan on calling into the Q&A tonight, there is a new link that Jake sent out. New link, because we had tech difficulties to start the show, so we had to create all new links. So please check your email for the new email with the new call-in link. The old call-in link will not work tonight, so make sure you do that if you plan on calling in later.
All right. EO Shush, Comrade Russ, CCP. I translated it for you. The money will be wired tonight. We expect propaganda
piece on Tuesday. Yeah.
Listen, man, when I
No
do
funny
finish
business.
it's going to be epic, man. People who are interested in that segment are going to be very happy. Vienticus Prime. I think the funniest thing was when someone told me the letters and numbers were tattoos. I didn't know anything about tattoos. I have 4 of them. 2 are always visible. I never did get a tattoo. They say it's never too late to realize your dreams, though. Arthur Handy. Keaton, it's been 3 weeks and I'm still laughing at your nickname for Lindsay Graham. YouTube won't let me type it in a super chat. What was that?
I declare. Faghorn, Leghorn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I am the owl. Listen, man, I bet you look at some of the money coming in for Ed Gallryan. You're going to find out this jerk off Will Chamberlain. Yeah, that dirty bastard. Blue MAGA, $50.
Wow, thank you, Blue MAGA.
As an IT guy, turning things off and back on is the key to my career. The difference is no one else knows when I do it, so I look like a genius. Free Palestine.
There you go. Is that what everybody does there? Is that what your tech support agents do?
I mean, it does work quite often.
It does. It does.
Michael Castillo. Hey, what if I wear my Hannibal Directive shirt and Palestine Press shirt in Brooklyn at the Chabad Love of World Headquarters? What do you think? I mean, it would be funny to go to Crown Heights. Like you're talking. See, there's the thing, man. The Orthodox with the payas and the curls. I don't think it's going to be as funny as the Yentas on the Upper West Side freaking out.
Right.
You know, what are you wearing? That's
Yeah.
horrible. Do you support Hamas?
Yeah, because they're busybodies.
That's just going to be funnier, man.
Yeah.
Peter Monahan, Gator Pete. This White House pop is completely.
Oh, we got that one already. That was one that was passed over. Wait, hold on. Maybe not. Maybe I was wrong about that. Hold on. I think he may have sent it again. Sorry. I thought that was a repeat. Hold on. I got you, Gator Pete. I'll find it. Sorry. Let me read that because I feel bad now. This White House pop is complete effing BS. Just another grift for the Baal room. So tired of this massive was tolerable. But again, AIPAC, fuck this again. How long will we let another government control us? Thank you, Gator Pete. Sorry. I thought it was a repeat from the last stream because it started the same.
The Three Wumber. CK was an establishment stooge and would be in lockstep with Daddy Trump right now. To pretend otherwise is too charitable of
I
him.
don't agree.
Well, you know what? I've got really strong evidence to contradict that. He's fucking dead.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty strong evidence.
That's evidence.
Yeah,
Yes.
that might be a simplistic analysis.
Simplistic.
He was a young guy, man. He was a very young guy. People evolve. People
Well, he
change.
he complained publicly that he was being bullied by Zionist donors.
exactly.
There were those texts that leaked after he died, but he told Megyn Kelly, he says they're calling me all these names like I'm anti-Semitic.
Right.
I'm not anti-Semitic. I can't take this anymore. Like if he were just the kind of guy to play ball, he would have not said that. He'd have not said that. He'd have taken his orders, and that would have been that.
And
Do I think he'd have like burned Trump the way Tucker has? Maybe not, but
maybe
because Tucker was
because
pretty all in for Trump too.
Megan,
Yeah.
the fact that Megyn Kelly,
Megyn Kelly,
Megyn Kelly, I would never have expected Megyn
Alex
Kelly
Jones
to take a stand.
Alex Jones,
Yeah,
So I mean, I think there's a good chance he would have.
He would have been a bigger problem for them than any of them.
Yes, because he had all these young people.
Because he
Look at
had
the
an
polls
organization.
among young Republicans. He could have run primaries against these, Israel firsters and beat them. Like it could have been a big problem, and I think it would have been, and I think they think it would have been.
Yep.
Which could explain some things.
It's like there's a great if you go and you actually read the Nicholas Pileggi books that they based the movies on, Casino, there's a great section where they're talking about how it worked in the mob, where you'd have a guy, and they would go around because they'd have wiretaps of them talking about who can be trusted, and you'd have the one guy would go, oh yeah, he's a great guy, yeah, he's a stand-up guy, oh yeah, that guy would never talk, and then the fourth guy would say, why take a chance? And they'd whack him.
Yeah, right. Right.
I think that's the Israelis. They're like, yeah, why take a chance?
Yeah.
Stoop sign. Best barbecue ever had was at an abandoned carnival in Bowling Green, Kentucky. However, the town seemed much like very simple down-home folks, like they literally roll up the sidewalks at 6 p.m. We used to have an abandoned amusement park in Queens. Adventures Inn. It was a very weird place to have an event because you expect that in like rural areas.
Right.
It's like sitting right in Queens, this abandoned amusement park.
I get that rural areas do close early. Like I'm not saying Kentucky has to stay open till 9 o'clock, but 6 is early to close the polls. It is like at least 7. You should at least keep it open till 7. I feel like the earlier poll closings make it more difficult for people to vote. Like if you work a 9 to 5, that's giving you a pretty small window after work, unless you're rolling out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning to go vote.
Right. I shouldn't have to do this. I like that. Love you guys. Good to see you, Russ. I'm a new member since while you were away. Been watching since late 23. Never miss a stream. Might call in if I'm not too shy. Do it, man.
Do it. Call in.
It's one of the perks, baby.
One of the perks.
Take advantage of it. EO Shush. Americans don't understand why their way of life is crumbling. It was Reaganomics military crushing unions, but they have been convinced if they can just win their side's culture wars, things go back. Listen, man, I usually Keaton gets more into the X wars than I do, man. But this whole attempt to like cast the boomers as like having lived on spam in the 30s is fucking, it's giving me an aneurysm, man. Watching Xers talk like we had it bad. Yeah, listen, man. If you were a fucking white man in the 90s and you couldn't make money, you were a lazy son of a bitch. I'm sorry, man. The fucking money was like you go outside, they'd walk up to you and fucking hand you something. Like it was fucking everywhere, man. To see Xers go, we never ate out. Shut the fuck up. I grew up on welfare. I could go to McDonald's because fucking it was cheap. It was cheap. Fucking McDonald's. What was it? Like fucking $1 for a cheeseburger? What the fuck are you talking about, man?
Yeah,
they got these
$1
boomers. No, fast food was a treat. Shut the fuck up. You guys grew up in the golden age of capitalism. You're really
Right.
gonna, yeah. And this is the really crazy thing about this. So objectively, you lived in the greatest time for the working class in American history, right? And you're saying you were poor. Well, then you should really be kissing the feet of Gen Z, because if you were such a loser that you couldn't make it then, Jesus, you'd be dead now, right?
Right.
Like, you should give it up to anyone who can survive now. If in the greatest economy ever, you were a fucking loser, wow, man, you should be tipping your hat to the Gen Z's people. Like, what are you talking about? You're bragging that you were poor in the greatest economy ever. Really? Oh, so what does that say about you? And you're saying that as an own of people who have it much worse than you, who are managing to survive? Unreal, man.
Oh, well, I guess renewing that Medicare sponsorship is going to be a little heavier lift than we thought.
No, I'm not saying boomers
No,
are
I
doing
know.
it, but certain ones are trying to cast it like they're trying to make themselves out to be the greatest generation, trying to make themselves out to be their parents. You don't know how hard we had it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, no, you're getting more into the X drama than I am lately. I'm starting to pull back.
Certain subjects.
I'm starting to pull back. I think, especially with this segment that we're probably not going to get to tonight because it's almost 9 o'clock already. We'll do it Tuesday. Twitter especially. It's basically an Israeli surveillance op at this point. So you should probably minimize your time on there, at least posting. Like, you can read the news, but that's basically what it is. It's basically just a way to project everything about yourself that Israeli spies want to know. That's what it seems like to me at this point. So I'm trying to just read the tweets, but I don't really. I'm starting to get less engaged in the X.
Well, I would recommend that, man. Like, I don't stay there because I don't like the platform.
Yeah.
Once in a while, because that's the psyop of the week. And it's a psyop that's just really more interesting to me than most of them.
Right. Yeah. No, I sympathize with that for sure. 2542 in the YouTube channel. 2525. And we're at 811 likes. All righty. Thanks everybody for being here. Great crowd. Give it up for Jake in the booth. All right, let's move right on along here. All right, so this is a long story, folks, a long story because there's a lot to get to. So yesterday, it looked like there was going to be a deal to resolve hostilities with Iran. Faytouk's network says Israeli officials say U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff is trying to secure an agreement at any cost and is the one pressing President Trump not to resume fighting, according to Israel's Channel 12. No, I never heard of Faytouk's network. I don't know much about it. I didn't know whether I should make anything of it, but Mark Levin believed it enough to get pretty alarmed. Houston, I think there may be a problem. Lindsey Graham, just before 2 o'clock, shortly after Levin, if a deal is struck to end the Iranian conflict because it is believed that the Strait of Hormuz cannot be protected by Iranian terrorism and Iran still possesses the capability to destroy major Gulf oil infrastructure, then Iran will be perceived as being a dominant force requiring a diplomatic solution. A combination of Iran being perceived as having the ability to terrorize the Strait in perpetuity and the ability to inflict massive damage to Gulf oil infrastructure is a major shift of the balance of power in the region, and over time will be a nightmare for Israel. Also, it makes one wonder why the war started to begin with. Yeah, you don't say. You don't say. If these perceptions are accurate, I personally am a skeptic of the idea that Iran cannot be denied the ability to terrorize the Strait, and the region cannot protect itself against Iranian military capability. Ryan Grimm says it makes one wonder why the war started to begin with if these perceptions are accurate. Indeed, it does, Senator. Yes. Would kind of make the whole thing seem like a giant waste of time. I like this one. Well, who's the panicking now? Says Orrin McIntyre. That's good. But who really was boosting these accounts? AIPAC currently retweeting politicians blasting Trump's reported peace agreement with Iran. Is AIPAC preparing to publicly take sides against the U.S. president, ending a deeply unpopular war? No, they were sending out the signal. Don't worry, folks. Spoiler alert. Trump caved again. Trump caved again. But, yep, there they are. There are the reposts on Lindsey Graham's tweet and Senator Roger Wicker, who put the rumored 60-day ceasefire with the belief that Iran will ever engage in good faith would be a disaster. Everything accomplished by Operation Epic Fury would be for naught.
Everything accomplished.
Everything accomplished. What accomplished? What
Gosh,
has been accomplished?
we wouldn't want to give up those gains.
Yeah, no, exactly. But the White House yesterday, late afternoon, tweets out an agreement has been largely negotiated, subject to finalization between the United States of America, the Islamic Republic of Iran, and the various other countries as listed. President Donald J. Trump. I'm in the Oval Office at the White House, where we just had a very good call with President Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan of the United Arab Emirates, Emir Tamim bin Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani. I said, hey, fellas, why don't you just settle on two names like the rest of us, two names. I see mine, Donald Trump, 3 syllables. Emir Tamim bin Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani. That's a tough one. That's a mouthful. Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman bin Jesus. You could tell he was trying to get the deal done by typing out all of these names. Look at this one. Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman bin Jassim bin Jaber Al Thani. Jesus. Minister Ali Al Tawadani of Kuwar, blah, blah, blah. Look at all these names. Oh, my God. I can't even do that. And all concerning the Islamic Republic and Iran, and all things related to a memorandum of understanding pertaining to peace. An agreement has been largely negotiated, subject to finalization between the United States, the Islamic Republic, and the various other countries as listed. Separately, I had a call with Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu of Israel, which likewise went very well. Final aspects and details of the deal are currently being discussed and will be announced shortly. In addition to many other elements of the agreement, the Strait of Hormuz will be opened. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Now, remember, there were so many moving parts to this story. There was no way to put them all in this segment. But, Don Jr. was apparently getting married for the 19th time this weekend. And Trump did not attend the wedding. He chose not to go to the wedding because he had to try and negotiate an end to the Iran deal. And Israel still wouldn't let him out. They still wouldn't let him out. He missed his son's wedding. And they still, we should have a weekly installment of which Sopranos character is Donald Trump this week. I called him President because, Davey loses all his money at the blackjack table. He's working to get it back. So we called him President Davey. I think Donald Trump this week is Eugene Pontecorvo, the guy who tries to retire to Florida. And so he goes to Tony and he gives him, a couple $100,000 out of his aunt's inheritance. He gives him the watch and the jewelry for the family. He's trying to, cozy up to him so that Tony will let him retire to South Florida. And Tony takes the gifts and then doesn't let him retire.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, that's like what happened this week, where Trump misses his son's wedding.
I don't remember that episode.
This deal. Yeah, it was like a mini arc. Gene was like the thin guy, That's like what happened with Trump this week. He missed his son's wedding as a gesture of commitment to getting this deal done. And no Donald, no deal allowed. So
it would be awkward. I used to see her at the Epstein parties.
Yeah, right, exactly.
See her at the wedding.
So Jeremy Scahill did some reporting here as things were coming together, because you obviously never know what news is reliable and what's not when they're talking about these negotiations. So Scahill says, I asked a senior Iranian official for comment on the current state of the Iran war negotiations. They sent the following statement. We are very close to reaching and signing an agreement to end the war. and today's constructive negotiating approach has made the prospect of peace in the region highly attainable. We recognize that President Trump is now faced with an important political decision, one that must balance the interests of the United States, regional countries, and respect for Iran's fundamental rights. Should this agreement ultimately be achieved, the international community will commend all negotiating parties for their role in advancing stability and peace. At the same time, Israel is currently undertaking its final extensive efforts and applying considerable pressure to disrupt the formation of this agreement. We hope that the U.S. administration will make its decision independently of external influence. Wow, you got more hope than I do, I'll tell you that. Independently of external influence and in favor of the broader collective interests of all parties involved. So it seems like, unlike certain times when this government has essentially just made up that they were negotiating with Iran, and Iran has said, no such talks are taking place. That's just PR/market manipulation, what have you. It looks like there were actually talks in progress that were going somewhere. So this really alarmed the Israel firsters. So here's Nio Berg. This is a defeat, not for the Islamic regime, but for the United States. This deal will likely look identical to what the mullahs demanded back in January, and his promise to the people of Iran, help is on the way, has been forgotten. Absolute madness. He said help was on the way. That was his quote to them during the totally organic and not astroturfed and not infiltrated protests. So Neil Stone, I mean, you talk about in the last segment how people just made up what Charlie Kirk would have said if he lived. Talk about things that didn't happen. Here's Neil Stone. Message from inside Iran. I wish I too was murdered in January rather than live to see this. Yeah, I'm sure that actually is a real quote from a real person. Obama's deal was horrible. This one is 100 times worse. Emily Schrader says if President Trump actually agrees to the deal being discussed, it would be worse than the JCPOA for the region. That's the Obama deal and the world, and will likely define his legacy as that of weakness and failure.
Well, I think that ship has sailed, my dear.
Yeah. Not a lot of trusting the plan going on, I have to say. All of a sudden, they don't trust the plan anymore. Mark Dubowitz says if President Trump agrees to a 60-day ceasefire extension based on vague Iranian promises to discuss nuclear issues, it's game over. That pushes the crisis into late July or early August, when major military operations become far less likely ahead of the midterms. Once the military leverage disappears, meaningful nuclear concessions disappear with it. Ballistic missile restrictions will be non-existent. Iran will get billions in sanctions relief, while repeatedly using Hormuz as a tool of blackmail. Tehran will have won at the negotiating table what it lost on the battlefield. Yep. Mark Levin says in response to this J-Post article, the Jerusalem Post says Netanyahu, sidelined by Trump, has little control over Iran decisions. Remember Trump in that interview? Said, Netanyahu will do what I want. So yeah, people did not like that. Mark Levin, you don't sideline an ally who fought along your side in a major military operation. Fought alongside where?
What the fuck did they do?
What did they do? Yeah, what the hell did they do? Either this is just another in a long list of smears against Netanyahu, or the disreputable New York Times and Jerusalem
He's talking
Post.
about when Netanyahu held Miriam's strap on and they got it in Trump's ass.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. And notice
how little assistance.
Notice how he can't cross daddy at any point, because he says either this is just another in a long list of smears against Netanyahu. It doesn't sound like a smear against Netanyahu. It sounds like a smear against Trump. If it's a smear, it sounds like the Jerusalem Post is saying that Trump is being an ingrate by sidelining Netanyahu. They're not sidelining Netanyahu. They're not smearing Netanyahu. They're smearing Trump, who the disreputable New York Times and Jerusalem Post despise, or a very big strategic mistake. Daniel Cohen, shame, if true, historic shame. Bad for the U.S., bad for Israel, terrible for the people of Iran. I love how they pretend to care about the Iranian people in all of this. Yeah, no, that's what the people of Iran are begging for, is more bombs. They need more girls' schools blown up. An agreement with terrorists is total surrender, says Noah Majid. So here are some of the terms of the then expected peace deal, tweeted out late last night after this Zio meltdown. Extension of Iran war ceasefire for 60 days. Strait of Hormuz open for those 60 days. Iran would be able to freely sell oil during the period. U.S. would lift blockade on Iranian ports and unfreeze some Iranian funds. U.S. would issue some sanction waivers on Iranian oil. Draft MOU includes statement, this is one that the Israelis really didn't like, that war between Israel and Lebanon would end. Negotiations would then be held regarding Iran's nuclear program. The draft MOU includes commitments from Iran to never pursue nuclear weapons, negotiate over a suspension of uranium enrichment, and removal of its highly enriched uranium. U.S. officials told Axios the situation remains fluid amid the high-stakes negotiations. So Mike Cernovich points out, when the Iran war started, I was told to trust Trump. I didn't throw anything like the tantrum I'm seeing tonight. Revealing moment, to be sure. Yes, indeed. Now, Benny Gantz says it is absolutely forbidden under any circumstances to accept the ceasefire in Lebanon as part of a deal with Iran. So, of course, this is a sticking point for them, and we know why. This is a video that went viral here. It's copyrighted, the music, so I won't play it. But here's the Israeli unit's homecoming party featured a display of their well-documented annihilation of southern Lebanon's villages, met with cheers and laughter from the crowds of soldiers, their relatives, and family members. It is a scene impossible to see anywhere but Israel. The whole ethos of Israel is that the entire world, it's a psychological thing. If you're a person and you act as if everybody around you hates you, you're going to act in a way that makes everybody around you hate you.
Yep.
And so the Israelis' attitude towards the rest of the world is they hate us and they want us dead, and so we have to kill or be killed. And that becomes the ethos of the country, to the point where a leisure time activity is watching the destruction of other peoples. And so, yeah, they're not going to agree to a ceasefire in Lebanon. Now, Ted Cruz chimes in. I'm deeply concerned about what we are hearing about an Iran deal being pushed by some voices in the administration. President Trump's decision to strike Iran was the most consequential decision of his second term. He was right to do so, and we achieved extraordinary military results, including destroying all of their missiles and drones and sinking their entire navy. If the result of all that is to be an Iranian regime still run by Islamists who chant death to America, now receiving billions of dollars, being able to enrich uranium and develop nuclear weapons, and having effective control over the strait, then that outcome would be a disastrous mistake. The details are coming out, and I pray the early reports are wrong. But the fact that Biden's Rob Malley is praising this deal is not encouraging. President Trump believes in peace through strength, and his strong leadership has already made America much safer. He should continue to hold the line, defend America, and enforce the red lines he has repeatedly drawn. And the replies here, brutal as always. Sure, bud. $1.8 million from the pro-Israel lobby. I like this one. I represent the Lone Star State. Texas? You mean Texas, right? No. Another Lone Star. Mike Pompeo, former Secretary of State of Donald Trump in the first term, panicking too. The deal being floated with Iran seems straight out of the Wendy Sherman, Robert Malley, Ben Rhodes playbook. Pay the IRGC to build a WMD program and terrorize the world. Not remotely America first. It's straightforward. Open the damn strait. Deny access to money. Take out enough Iranian capability so it cannot threaten our allies in the region. Overdue. Let's go. Now, for some reason, the White House...
Very straightforward.
Very straightforward, yes. The White House communications director, that's who this Stephen Chung is. Notice the silver check mark. This is the White House comms director, really did not appreciate Mike Pompeo. He says, Mike Pompeo has no idea what the fuck he's talking about. He should shut his stupid mouth and leave the real work to the professionals. He's not read into anything that's happening. So how would he know? Damn. All right, so that's something very strange happened.
Nobody over there thought of opening the strait.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's not what they've repeatedly tried to find a way to do that will not completely destroy the world economy and failed.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Now, as all this is happening, there's this other very strange development. One killed in exchange of gunfire with Secret Service near White House. Apparently that one person was the gunman himself. A gunman known to the U.S. Secret Service opened fire near the White House and was shot and killed by federal officers. President Trump was in the White House at the time. Some would say that is suspicious timing, as he is working to negotiate this Iran deal. So Netanyahu, who didn't tweet about the deal, tweets this morning, 5:08 a.m., I am relieved that President Donald Trump, the best friend Israel has ever had in the White House, who would never think about betraying us, would he? Question mark. Yeah. Question mark. Dot. No, just kidding. Is safe and that the attacker was neutralized before he could cause any further harm. Political violence, including repeated attempts to assassinate President Trump, should be unequivocally and forcefully condemned by all. Scott Horton says, LOL, this guy cracks me up sometimes. Yeah, not only a country that's famous for assassinating people, but also just like the timing of this. Like, if that feels very gangsterish to me, I'm sorry, to be like, hey, I am relieved that he is okay. After all, he's the best friend we've ever had. And he was about to negotiate a peace deal that we don't want. Funny how these things happen. Very scary, isn't it? Kind of sounded that way to me. I don't know. And I'm not the only person who feels that way, I don't think. Sounds pretty suspicious. Marco Rubio spoke today on a possible Iran deal. And notice, we're not going to listen to all this. It's 4 minutes. But notice how he phrases the stipulation that Iran will not have a nuclear weapon.
Iran situation. There'll be, I believe, maybe more news coming out a little bit later today on this topic, and I'll leave it to the president to make further announcements on it. Suffice it to say that some progress has been made, significant progress, although not final progress has been made. Ultimately, I remind everybody, I think this ties into the second question that was asked in relations to it. What is the goal here? The goal here ultimately, the ultimate goal is that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. Iran can never possess a nuclear weapon. The president has been clear about that. They will never possess a nuclear weapon, certainly not as long as Donald Trump is president of the United States.
Oh, wait, but hold on. But Donald Trump is only going to be president for 2 more years. Didn't look like they were going to get there in 2 years anyway. So that's a little strange caveat to kind of throw in there. Well, it's not going to happen on our watch. Our watch is over in 2 years. But trust me, when we say never, we mean not within 2 years. That's what we mean now when we say they will never have a nuclear weapon. It was looking like they were moving towards a deal. Look, even Fox News very optimistic this morning.
Good morning. Overnight, President Trump announced that a deal with Iran has been largely negotiated. The president indicated there are still a number of small details and aspects that have to be worked out, but the deal will be announced shortly, according to the president. A regional source who has reviewed the agreement told Fox News the deal states that U.S. forces...
Narrator voice, there would be no deal announced.
Will stay in the proximity of Iran for 30 days. The context here is that it signals to Iran the military option remains on the table if nuclear issues aren't resolved or the interim agreement is violated. The source added that as part of the deal, Iran will receive oil sanctions waivers. Iran will also have frozen funds and assets released worth billions of dollars. On Saturday, President Trump held a call that included leaders from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Egypt, Jordan, Turkey, and Pakistan, aimed at reaching a broader understanding. A separate regional diplomat told Fox News the call was very positive. Good progress is being made, adding that regional leaders were supportive of the progress and of the breakthrough President Trump achieved with the talks.
All right. So that brings us to later on in the morning. Now, people are already calling this, noted historians are already calling this the AI boomer slop declaration of 2026. This is what Netanyahu tweets out at 9:50 a.m. Eastern time. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, with the Israeli and American flag and the two leaders looking very majestic in AI rendering there. So a lot of hardcore lobbying here. And then Netanyahu decides to tweet out some more details of his phone call with Donald Trump the night before, the night that a gunman was shot outside the White House as negotiations were getting intense. I spoke last night with President Donald Trump about the memorandum of understanding to reopen the Straits of Hormuz and the upcoming negotiations toward a final agreement on Iran's nuclear program. I expressed my deep appreciation to President Trump for his unwavering commitment to Israel's security, including during Operation Roaring Lion. Roaring Lion is the Gaza genocide, right? That's Roaring Lion. And Epic Fury, when American and Israeli forces fought shoulder to shoulder against the Iranian threat. President Trump and I agreed that any final agreement with Iran must eliminate the nuclear danger. That means dismantling Iran's nuclear enrichment sites and removing its enriched nuclear material from its territory. President Trump also reaffirmed Israel's right to defend itself against threats on every front, including Lebanon. The partnership between us and our two countries has been proven on the battlefield and has never been stronger. My policy, like President Trump's, remains unchanged. Iran will not have nuclear weapons. Now, Donald Trump comes out today, this afternoon, and says critics are attacking Iran deal that isn't even fully negotiated yet. He's saying, hey, get off me. This isn't even finalized. If I make a deal with Iran, it'll be a good and proper one, not like the one made by Obama, which gave Iran massive amounts of cash and a clear and open path to a nuclear weapon. Our deal is the exact opposite, but nobody has seen it or knows what it is. It isn't even fully negotiated yet. So don't listen to the losers who are critical about something they know nothing about. Unlike those before me who should have solved this problem many years ago, I don't make bad deals. President DJT, looks like this is falling apart. Looks like once again, the Israelis made their displeasure known and he's pulling back. Trump to Arab leaders, normalize with Israel or no Iran deal. He told them on the call, get in the Abraham Accords or forget about any peace framework with Tehran. Big league leverage play. That's Mario Nawfal's editorializing. This could actually reshape the Middle East. Yeah, except
that's what's going to happen.
Except that's not going to happen. Yeah, I mean, it could reshape the Middle East. If I had big ears and a trunk, I would look like a circus elephant. But that's not going to happen. That's from Axios. And so here we go. This tweet got around. Breaking, two sources close to Trump's negotiation team say Trump is now completely backing away from the U.S.-Iran deal under, quote, extreme internal pressure from Israel. Well, no. Israeli pressure is not internal pressure. Israeli pressure is external pressure. That's outside pressure. That's not internal pressure. And it's U.S. domestic allies.
Given that his son-in-law is an agent of Israel, it's kind of internal.
Urging him not to accept Iran's terms. After this, Trump posted an image of Mark 84 bomb on a fighter jet with his signature, "Thank you for your attention to this matter," catchphrase stenciled directly on the bomb on Truth Social. Yes, that is a real Truth Social post. So we went from just a day and a half ago, Trump tweeting out that they basically have a deal, just pending final details and a major peace announcement. We go from that, of course, to a picture of a bomb with "Thank you for your attention to this matter." Now, this is RT reporting via the New York Times. This was breaking just before we went on the air. It's, as you can see, tweeted out at 6:06. This is as up to the minute as we could possibly give you. U.S.-Iran agree in principle to reopen Hormuz, according to the New York Times. Commit Iran to disposing of its highly enriched uranium. But, of course, no deal signed yet. So here you have another example of Trump signaling that a deal is in the works. Unlike previous times, you actually had some confirmation that the Iranians were actually negotiating. Jeremy Scahill reported that. I saw in a tweet just before we went on the air. No time to add this. Professor Morandi actually said, yes, Trump did want a deal, and they were talking towards a deal. But, of course, the boss said no. We want to keep bombing Lebanon, and no, these terms are not satisfactory to us. The Zionists had a complete all-night meltdown over it, and now we seem to be essentially, I won't say square one. If this reporting is accurate, it looks like they've made some progress, but not enough. Not enough, because the Israelis will not allow them to make enough progress. Ultimately, this is either going to end in a World War III, or it's going to end with us telling Israel no. And unfortunately, the former seems more likely.
Yeah, when we talked about it this morning, that's what I said. I said, this isn't going to happen. It's not going to happen because if you look at the factors in play that caused this to happen in the first place, none of them have changed. And the main factor that has not changed is Israel. Israel doesn't want it. They're not going to have it, man. Even if Trump decided to say, you know what, I'm sidelining you guys, they'll do something that will cause Iran to walk away. They'll do something that will just not allow it. Now that Trump got himself into this trap by listening to Netanyahu's bullshit, which according to the reporting, even Marco Rubio was saying at the table was bullshit, that, yeah, they're about to get a nuclear weapon. He's been saying this for 40 years. I think a lot of the speculation that Trump got very cocky because of how easily they grabbed Maduro. He thought, he was very predisposed to believe they're just going to knock off the Iranian government, and he's going to be hailed as the guy who, after 47 years, finally overthrew the Iranian government.
Mullahs, yeah.
And now he's in it. Now he's stuck. Now he's stuck in a trap. How does he get out of it now that he's in it? The Iranians, if you look at the terms of that deal, if you're coming at things from Trump's perspective, that's a humiliating deal, right? You got to give him basically what the old Obama deal did, right? You're going to remove the sanctions on the oil. You're going to unfreeze the assets. But this is so bad that he probably would have done it. But the Israelis are not going to let him. They're going into midterms. He knows how politically damaging this is to him. That's why they were even talking about making that kind of a deal. Like, I think Trump's ready to walk away. His handlers will not let him. You know, they probably have blackmail material on him. That's probably part of how they got him into this to begin with. I have believed throughout, we're living in the calm before the storm, before the shit really hits the fan. Like, the oil prices, you think they're up now? Wait a few months. Like, all of this talk about things going back to normal. No, they can only go back to normal if this gets resolved, and it won't get resolved. It's an insoluble situation.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's an impossible trap. And it's an impossible trap because Israel insists that it's an impossible trap.
That's
like,
it.
The solution is just, it's hidden in plain sight. You just have to tell them, no, we did all we could do. That's it. We can't do any more. And you have to be willing to live with the consequences of that.
And he's not going to do that because
they
got him on video with a 13-year-old or something.
I mean, look, I've said this over and over again. And even though we can't know for sure what they have on them, whatever they have on you, the world will forgive you 100 times over for whatever they have on you if you let them publish it as a price for fucking over Israel and getting us out of this war, and breaking ties with this rogue state that is just holding the world hostage.
Yeah.
I mean,
the world will really forgive you if you bomb Israel like they bombed Gaza.
Well, yeah.
At that point, everything will be forgiven.
They'll forgive a lot for that. But I think they'll forgive a whole lot if you just cut them off and you just say, no more. But, that's not something that they're willing to do. And the price for not doing that is just going to be massive. It's already been massive. I mean, look at what you're talking about doing. I mean, polling is just incredibly one-sided at this point. What if gas is $6.50 a gallon going into the midterms? I mean, what is that going to do to your? I mean, you're going to destroy.
Well, I think they will be.
Yeah.
I think they will be. Look, man, there's why I said I don't normally do this. I normally just ride things out. I pulled all my money out of the markets, man. These little like blips of exuberance. Oh, there's going to be a deal. No
more Taco Tuesdays for Russ.
No more. We're caught in a trap, and we can't walk out.
All right. Well, this is fun. Hey, let's have a little fun. This is a quick one, but a fun one. The Dave Rubin clips, the parody accounts, retired January 20th, 2025. I'll tell you what the joke behind that. But he's not actually retired because he actually put out this montage of all of Dave Rubin's wrong predictions about the Iran war.
Here in my prediction stuff. I'm not polymarket, I'm not Kalshi, but I'm pretty good at predictions. And my prediction here is that everything that the media is now going to say about Iran's going to close the Strait of Hormuz and energy prices are going to go crazy and all these, none of this is going to come to pass. Gas prices are coming down and will continue to come down. If the United States wants to keep the Strait of Hormuz open, which it does, and Donald Trump said we'll escort ships through if we have to, it's going to stay open. This is the leader of the Iranian opposition. He has been in exile. His name is Reza Pahlavi. We have shown you videos of him before. He's the eldest son of the former Shah of Iran, and he likely is the next leader of Iran.
Or as the Chinese might call him, a lucky boy.
When this war ends, will go in and he will be the leader. And again, it will be different. Just remember, it sounds like the Kurds are starting to enter the country with arms to help the people take out the last vestiges of the IRGC. There's a lot of good things happening. This is Iranians, and you can hear they are chanting Bibi June, Bibi Netanyahu. In Iran, they are chanting praise for Benjamin Netanyahu.
It's not real. Fake footage.
Yeah, like that would happen. Like that would never happen.
Take out
Like, how
Khomeini,
could you
and
even fall for that?
No, this guy, in addition to being just a totally totally despicable person, he is a really dumb guy. He's really not a smart person. Yeah, how could you possibly fall for that? I mean, there weren't that many Mossad agents in the crowd. There were some. I don't know about that. That's pretty loud.
And
that's Iran.
Take out Khomeini, and you take out his number 2 and his number 3 and his number 4 and his
Yeah.
number 37 and his number 42, then suddenly the next guy's going, it's a little hot in here. And then people start behaving a little bit differently.
This is
They've
like, what's that
plotted-
guy? What's the name of that guy? What the fuck is his name? AJ Friedman? Who's the fucking guy there?
Oh, H.A. Goodman.
AJ Friedman.
You were close.
My apologies to AJ Friedman out there. I'm sure there's one of you out there somewhere. What's his name? H.A. Goodman?
H.A. Goodman, right?
AJ Friedman.
Yeah. Yes, but he was the Baghdad Bob of 2016.
Yeah, he's the guy like
Bernie is going to come in with an army of Mongol delegates and chop the heads off the Hillary supporters. Yes, that's happening tomorrow at noon.
AJ Friedman. Yeah, H.A. Goodman. That's like he's like this guy of the Iran war.
This war, this extraordinary war that will be studied for decades, right? For decades, they will study how this incredible war took place. That we are hitting critical infrastructure. We are damaging the regime, so hopefully the people will be able to take over their countries. Now, the question is, if you're going to hit power plants and you're going to hit civilian infrastructure and things of that nature, how do you make sure it's not going to harm the people, but just the regime? And when we have a Department of War that is not looking for war, but will perform war, then we are going to do it at the maximum level of competency. I think the way you can look at this, I haven't heard anyone else say this, but this seems to me to be the war to end all wars.
Wow. Damn. Talk about a swing and a miss. Dave Rubin's IQ, the Ashkenazi outlier. Ha! Good one. I like that one. Good burn. Aaron Mate says Zionism is a hell of a drug. Yeah, it is. Glenn Greenwald, imagine having sat through and listened to all of this Israeli propaganda, which turned out to be predictably and completely false, and then thinking there was some value in continuing to listen to this person. Yeah, that is quite a whiff. But hey, that's not his worst prediction. In fact, Dave Rubin promised that he'd be off the air by now if Biden completed a 4-year term as president. So here he is on Inauguration Day 2021, promising to not have a career anymore.
I'm going to make a bold statement. Michael, I'm going to make a bold statement today. Bold statement. Here we go. If Joe Biden is sworn in on January 20th, 2021, and he completes a 4-year term actually completes a 4-year term, I will retire. I will retire at the end of that term. That will be it. I will disappear in just over 4 years. 4 years and about a month and a half. That'll be it. That's how convinced. I will just disappear from public life altogether. I will delete all of my accounts, and then you'll never hear from me again. That's how convinced I am that it ain't going to happen. He will not be president for 4 years.
Well, your lips to God's ears, my friend, but you did not make good on that. I mean, what a clown. What a clown.
This is an excellent example of somebody who is only where he is because he's being paid by dark money to be there. Who would watch that? Who would watch that? Like, yeah, man, you got Zionists who will watch it, man, but are there really enough of them to make that profitable on its merits? We just covered this story this week with Ashley St. Clair. You have to disclose if you are taking money to advertise a product, not if you are getting paid to advertise a political idea or a political agenda or to push a bill, to push a political project. You don't have to disclose that, man. All these fucking people are getting paid. They're all getting paid. There is no freaking way that Dave Rubin has a real audience. There's no way, man. Who would watch that? Like, not some people, but not enough. Not enough. There's no real talent there.
Well,
Look,
there's certainly no talent there.
Steven Crowder, he's actually good. He's actually good. He's actually entertaining. Like, I could understand him having an audience. It's not my politics, but I could understand him having an audience. Cenk Uygur, he's very good. Very good. He's a clown, but he's very good at what he does. This, come on.
Yeah, no, he's it is quite something. Was he part of the Tenet Media or no? Was he one of those? I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't know what the exact details are. But yeah, no, it is he is quite the brain trust there. All right. Let's move right on along here. Mark Pugliese says Eva Marie Saint was in the crossword, not for Waterfront. Her first movie won an Oscar, Exodus. I forgot she was in that. Oh, she was in the crossword? Which crossword today? Russ, are you going to see Mondo and Baby Yoda?
Not if you had a gun.
31 Ember says, did Charlie Kirk ever go against Donald Trump? He was a stooge. Well, we know that he was, at odds with those donors. Now, we made the point when he said, I'm going to trust my friends in government. So I'm not going to talk about Epstein for now. Yeah, I mean, it was very frustrating, and we criticized Charlie Kirk a lot. And that was kind of infuriating when he said that. I think at the time he figured I have more influence if I keep the president at arm's length, but in my orbit, than if I just burn him. Because if I burn him, they're not going to listen to me anymore. Tucker had a brief period there where, he was showing up at the White House. He would go and lobby against the Iran war. He showed up to the Venezuela thing, probably figuring the same thing. But then now, of course, he's completely out. So, I think when you have that kind of power and influence, you don't really want to give it up until until it becomes a situation where, the administration is clearly irredeemable. He was not far along that road at the time he was killed. But I think, look, come on, if Megyn Kelly could get there, you don't think Charlie Kirk would have gotten there?
I think
Charlie Kirk has a lot more conviction than Megyn Kelly. A lot more. And so, if
it was already going there.
Yeah.
Already going there. Like, people evolve, man. Tucker Carlson evolved at a much later age than Charlie Kirk was at.
Yes. And it doesn't even necessarily take, the funny thing is there was no evolution necessary. You just had to realize Donald Trump wasn't who he said he was. Like, Trump's the one who changed. None of these people changed.
Right. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. It's a question of whether you want to go along.
Right.
And if Kirk was going to go along, he wouldn't have been having the problems with the Zionists he was having in the days before they.
Yeah, but he also would have never been able to organize as many young people because he would have had to go against the core of his movement, which were his members.
Right.
Like, if young Republicans are overwhelmingly anti-Israel and you toe the line for a Zionist-controlled administration, then your organization is not going to have the power that you built it up to have. And do I think he would have just allowed that to happen? No, I don't. That infrastructure he built out was big enough to support his own presidential run if and when he decided to do it, which I think he would have decided to do it at some point. Do I think he's going to give that up for a lame duck one-term president who's lying about everything? No, I don't think he would have done that. I don't think he would have done that. Rachel Horning, we're so fucked. Yeah, I can't argue with that. Quintessential, thanks for the $25 of a certain currency. There shouldn't Shama set realistic expectations in public. If winning was goal, she would try. She'd have to think like a lib. How dare you vote against a woman of color? Yeah, that's what she should do. She should shame people into voting for her on those grounds. Sonia Hawk, you guys, Ian Carroll and Caitlin Johnston are my top 3. Always wondered if y'all would get along well. The Realist. Thank you for that. Well, Russ has met Ian Carroll.
Yeah, he was cool.
Yeah, said he was a nice guy. Brad Gilbert, Faghorn, Leghorn. You got to get creative. There you go. You got to put the @ sign.
That was the day that I went to the Smithsonian American History Museum, and I was ranting about the pop culture section. How like you could see, because you're starting with Joe Louis and Mae West and all of these classic figures of American history, and you could see how hard they're trying to make the last 20 years look like it measures up to that. It's so obvious it doesn't. So that's the kind of rant like Ian Carroll would appreciate. So we kind of bonded right there. We started going back and forth on, Manson and that kind of thing.
Nice. Stanley 6330 says you guys should have Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro on your show. But he is. He's here now. He's in the room with us now. He's always here. Yes.
Along with Elijah.
Yes, along with Elijah. That's right. Is Katz is Zionist or just Jewish? Zabar. I mean, I think they're pretty apolitical. We're just talking about the clientele. The people.
We're talking about the people.
We're talking about the busybody New Yorkers. Yeah.
Right.
Who would get on you for wearing.
I mean, Katz is really, it pulls in so many tourists that wouldn't really be the place.
Yeah.
You'd probably more want to go to the 2nd Avenue Deli if you want to freak out the clientele.
People.
If you want to troll the clientele, if you want to get the dirty looks. But really, look, if I wear this on the regular around New York City, I'm gonna get confronted.
Oh yeah, especially in the Upper West Side. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You don't go fight with people. You just wear it and see what they say.
And that's it. Just have the camera ready.
Pizza recommendation. Try the sausage pesto slice at Linda Street Pizza in Little Italy. Yeah, that place is getting a lot of buzz.
Yeah,
there are 2 other locations in Williamsburg and the West Village. It's the Chef's Kiss. Let's go Knicks. Yeah, let's go Knicks. That's right. What are we, 1 win away from the finals? There you go. Linda Street is supposed to be really good. That's the one that's got all the buzz right now.
Now that I'm back, I'll have to try it.
And isn't there the Sarah's Pizza? Isn't there the CERES? Isn't that like in Nolita? I hear that's good too. Vienticus Prime, to verify yourself on Twitter, your information goes through a company called Autotix, an Israeli company. Yeah, man. I think it's I think it's a surveillance. I think the whole internet is a surveillance op. I would venture to say we're gonna have to start distributing this show on audio cassette and pamphlet. I would venture to say that a more accurate name for Epstein Fury will be half-ass trans surgery because all they did was cut their own dicks off. Thank you, Vienticus. We're so close to a deal as the new Iran is close to having nuclear weapons. Yeah, exactly. EO Shush says, I think boomers gripe as they were raised with 7 siblings and an alcoholic dad with PTSD from World War II. But at 18 to get a union job or cheap college. Later generations on average, better childhood, but no jobs. Interesting theory. Yeah, I kind of like that theory. All right. That's good.
I mean, it's funny, man. In that rant, I talk more about Xers, which is my generation.
Right.
But you still have the boomers having a meltdown in the comments, man. That is why you guys get so much shit. They never figure that part out.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I called out the Xers.
Yeah,
so
just take your lumps.
why are you crying, man?
Yeah. Just take your lumps. Race car, thanks for the super sticker. Appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Vienticus, politicians anymore are like as if Dan Quayle fucked everyone and gave them some sort of herpes-like stupidity. $1 Million Trooper, to drive Keaton's point home after Tony doesn't let Gene retire, Gene hangs himself in his garage. Yeah, he's the guy who hangs himself because Tony won't let him go to Florida and he's got the feds on him. And but he bribes Tony to let him retire and Tony doesn't take it. Geez, I just wanted a nuclear apocalypse to spare us from the zombie and or AI apocalypse. Yet another disappointment from Trump. Thank you for that. Angry Prole. Oh, there you go. Since it's Memorial Day weekend, I wanted to say those who know their history should not be celebrating it, nor that of Independence Day and Veterans Day equals 250 years of oppression and death. Well, have a happy one tomorrow. So, what are you making tomorrow? What do you got? What do you got on the grill tomorrow?
Yes.
So I'm guessing no pool party at your place tomorrow. While I understand your objective is to bridge the political divide, what you're advocating for is reformism, which never works. Continued.
Are we?
The feds have subpoenaed Hasan Piker. Yep, we got it.
We're covering it.
We're covered. It's in the thumbnail, right? Hasan did have Ashley St. Clair on his Twitch stream a couple days ago for over an hour.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah. People are saying that's funny too. All right, very well. Let's move right on along.
Yeah, I'll take a couple more. I just want to clean up there.
Angry Prole says you're also refusing to look into anything that will prove you wrong or less informed than you thought. Well, why would I look into anything that would prove me wrong?
Yeah, why would you do that?
Why would I do that? Well, it's a waste of time. Lastly, you sometimes cover stories that aren't important and don't seem to cover articles or journals in other languages. What did Russ say about the volume? We don't even have time to get the volume right. I'm going to translate articles from other languages. If you could have, then you don't do so very often. No, we don't do. All right. Sunhawk. Where is this going on?
Did I mess up here?
Wonder if the propaganda is for DJT. He's a blob of skinned raw ego, and they steer him with it. Maybe he believes all the BS. Still accountable. Yeah. I mean, look, the devil's bargain is getting in bed with Israel in the first place. Angry Prole says, for these reasons, I consider DD to be an outlet that means well, but has more to learn. Anyway, that's my blunt critique. Note, I had to send this message in Rumble rants because emails are pointless. Yeah, well, I mean, we got paid a few bucks to read it now, as opposed to the emails, which we have to read for free. So thank you, Angry Pro. Pete Sweet. Yep, got him by the short hairs. Got to be horrific. Thank you, Pete Sweet. Okay.
You know when we'll be perfect? When we agree with everything that you think.
Yeah.
Then we'll be educated.
When we are the avatars for your psyche, then we will have achieved perfection.
Yes. Then we'll be, as the Scientologists call it, clear.
We'll be clear. Yes,
we'll
exactly.
Be clear.
We should rename the show Clear.
They'll think we're advertising an acne cream.
That'd be a good name for a show, Clear. Yeah.
All right, I'm good. I just, it's so rare that I only have one video in a segment. I thought I messed up.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. A lot of reading tonight. Jewish and clear.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. For Hebrew Scientologists.
Hebrew clear.
All right. We good?
Yeah, we're good. Let's do it.
Ready? Let's rock. All right. All right. The feds have subpoenaed Hasan Piker and Medea Benjamin over their trip to Cuba there. This Fox News article is so freaking unhinged that it's almost part of the story in and of itself. Max commented on this a little bit. So who wrote this? Azra Q Nomani. She was, for a while, she was a pilot on an X-Wing, but now she's writing for Fox. So yeah, this article is just nuts. It's nuts. It's It's like somebody printed an article from 1955 by accident.
Right.
A modern paper. It's such an unhinged Cold War diatribe. All right. So federal officials have served subpoenas to Marxist political influencer Hasan Piker and Code Pink co-founder Susan Medea Benjamin as part of a wider investigation into whether U.S. organizations and leaders violated U.S. laws and sanctions in supporting Cuba's communist regime, Fox News Digital has learned. Piker and Benjamin are among those caught in a federal inquiry into whether activists who traveled to Cuba in March violated U.S. sanctions laws through the financing, coordination, or delivery of goods to Cuba, including potential contacts with Cuban government personnel or entities on the island. The administrative subpoenas were sent to the pair by the Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control. The administrative subpoenas, called Requests for Information, or RFI, seek financial, logistical, and communications information revolving around trips the two widely bragged about making to the island nation in March with delegations of the Nuestra America convoy, or Our America convoy. uh, for those among you who do not speak Spanish, which is most of our audience, from a global network of communist sympathizers, activists, and influencers who brought supplies to the country's ruling Communist Party of Cuba, according to, how many times can they get the words communist and Marxist into this article? According to sources familiar with the matter. The investigation is part of a broader effort by officials at Treasury, State, and Justice Departments to curb malign foreign influence operations inside the United States, particularly activities tied to support for political violence, extremist movements, or acts the U.S. government classifies as terrorism. The scrutiny reflects growing concern among federal authorities and lawmakers over whether foreign actors and aligned organizations are attempting to shape American political discourse, mobilize activists, sow discord, and normalize rhetoric that could encourage violence or undermine U.S. national security interests. They are sending a team to Kentucky to look into the Massie race because it's believed all those factors may have been present in the result. No, that's not in there. According to a Fox News digital investigation, Singham has pumped $278 million into nonprofit groups that have pushed pro-China, pro-Cuba, anti-U.S. narratives and street protests for almost a decade, since his marriage in February 2017 to Code Pink co-founder Jody Evans, who is also being investigated for her role in the March trip. Code Pink received $1.33 million from Singham after he married Evans. In mid-March, organizations in the Singham network, from the Venceremos Brigade to People's Forum, a hub for communist causes in New York City, were leaders of the Nuestra American convoy, which included an estimated 650 delegates from 33 countries and 120 organizations. The organizations included Democratic Socialists of America, a U.S. nonprofit that promotes Piker as a headline member. As reported, a Fox News digital investigation has identified 145 U.S. nonprofits and activist groups with $1 billion in collective revenues that Justice and Treasury Department officials are investigating as part of a wider influence campaign by Cuba's communist regime and other foreign actors. According to public statements, it's believed that delegation members stayed at a hotel the U.S. State Department has put on a Cuba restricted list as businesses directly tied to the communist government of Cuba designated a state sponsor of terrorism. They send doctors all over the world, and it's terrifying to people who have no health care in our own country. The larger group under scrutiny includes Isra Hirsi, the daughter of Rep. Ilhan Omar, according to sources, with investigators examining whether Omar may have funded her daughter's travel to Cuba. Omar didn't respond to an earlier request for comment about her daughter's trip. Piker, Benjamin, Singham, Evans, and Code Pink didn't respond to requests for comment. According to sources, the Office of Foreign Assets Control is also investigating Code Pink's DC coordinator, Olivia DeNunzi, a former Division I basketball star from Emerson College in Boston. Her unassuming girl-next-door persona often gains her entry into coveted spaces that activist Jose Vega could never get into, that she then disrupts with loud theatrics. She joined a convoy led by the Brazilian activist Thiago Avila.
I like her unassuming girl next door persona gets her entry into these things. Like, what is she fucking like Bugs Bunny? Or she, you know what I mean? She tricks people into things. Thinking she's harmless, but they just let you in if you look like a girl next door type.
I mean, honestly, yeah.
Oh.
Like, honestly, yeah. I have actually found, like, being an unassuming middle-aged guy actually is helpful, like, in getting into places.
I
because
guess.
they don't expect you to cause trouble.
Hmm.
You're not like a young whippersnapper. They just don't think you're going to start shit.
Right.
Federal investigators are examining whether the caravan's financing, logistics, coordination, or delivery of goods cross legal line under U.S. sanctions law, sources said. So yeah, that's pretty terrifying. Like that's fascist. That's fascist shit. Like right there. Like that entire article, the rationale behind it, the thinking behind it. That's fascism. And of course, having just visited several communist countries, the hysteria around communism, or the suggestion that communism is this horrific threat to our wonderful American way of life. We certainly wouldn't want to rock the boat. Things are going so well for everybody over here. We certainly wouldn't want to try anything else. Yeah, it's just nuts. That whole article is nuts. So Medea Benjamin tweeted out, taking medical supplies to pediatric hospitals in Cuba is now a crime. Saving the lives of babies is a crime. This administration is beyond grotesque. I mean, Medea Benjamin's right. But man, it's not this administration. It's the whole project. It's the whole American project. There's a councilwoman, I think, in Sacramento who's Laotian, who this is the meltdown they're drumming up on X right now, that she refuses to pledge allegiance to the flag, and they're screaming, how dare she was taken in as a refugee. Yeah, who made her a fucking refugee? What country bombed the country to the point that when I just visited, they sell jewelry made out of the unexploded ordnance to raise money for the victims that are still being created? Farmers will be out in their fields and get blown up or get their limbs blown off from unexploded bombs. Yeah, it's not this administration. It's America. There's not an aberration. There's just a mask off moment for this country. Sabby Sabs, they subpoenaed Hasan Piker and Medea Benjamin for providing aid to Cuba, but Epstein's buddies still running around freely. Yep. Yes, they are. And they're going to stay that way. Rick Scott, this is the third time this week. Does he normally weigh into everybody's threads like this? Because I don't remember covering him this much in the past. Good. Hasan Piker and Code Pink went to Cuba, stayed in 5-star hotels, cozied up with thugs in the communist regime, and completely ignored the innocent political prisoners being starved and tortured. Oh, yeah. You care about that, Rick Scott. They should be thoroughly investigated and held accountable for any laws broken in doing so. Thank you, U.S. Treasury. So I keep pointing this out. Because it's crazy. It's crazy to see Rick Scott, of all people, feeling a need to moralize on every subject of the day when this meme is 100% true. If you don't know this, you can look this up. I pled the fifth 75 times in a Medicare fraud case, paid a $1.7 billion fine, and walked away with $300 million. So I keep saying, this guy's, and guys like him are so anti-communist because in a communist country, they'd probably be executed by the state. But, I was just kind of vaguely indicating that from what I heard. So I decided to look it up. I was curious. Like, what would they do with a guy like Rick Scott, who many say committed the greatest act of Medicare fraud in American history? This guy's a senator now. So what would happen if you did that in a communist country? Well, in Cuba, stealing from Cuba's national healthcare system carries severe penalties ranging from long-term imprisonment of 8 to 30 years to life in prison or even the death penalty. So you can see why a guy like Rick Scott wouldn't want anyone getting any ideas about, bringing communist system here, because instead of being in the Senate, he might be in the death row if you brought in a communist system here. Because the healthcare system is state-run, theft of medical supplies, fuel, or infrastructure components is prosecuted under strict national security, state property, and public safety laws. Now, that's Cuba. So China, it's kind of similar. Death penalty. In extreme cases of bribery or embezzlement involving huge amounts, hundreds of millions of yuan, which this would certainly qualify, courts may issue a death sentence, often with a 2-year reprieve. A reprieve can be commuted to life imprisonment if the convict shows good behavior. See, now, from what I know of China, that's very Chinese. They very much believe in redemption, in getting your mind right. If you correct yourself, But then, even so, all right, so they might commute your sentence, but they're definitely taking all your assets. Asset confiscation. All personal assets are typically confiscated and illicit gains are recovered for the national treasury. So, hey, man, remember that every time you see Rick Scott weighing in on particularly anything having to do with a communist country. Rick Scott doesn't want anybody to look into how they do things in communist countries, because Rick Scott in a communist country might be facing the death penalty. Here, you rip off Medicare, rip off Medicaid, greatest fraud in American history. They put you in the Senate. There, you might be doing life in prison, might be doing a long prison sentence, might even get executed. Definitely going to take all your assets. But here, you become a senator for that. Haz al-Din. This is a blatant war on the constitutional rights of Americans. You don't have to agree with Piker or like him to understand this. They'll start with the most divisive personalities to gain support. Then everyone who refuses to be a slave of Zionism will be next. Don't be duped. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And Nick, on that theme, remember when the Biden administration tried to lock up Chairman O'Malley and the Uhuru 3, accusing them of being Russian agents? It is exactly the same logic, right? It's exactly the same thing. Well, you're saying something that this government agrees with, so you're aligned with them. You're an agent. Nobody would cover it because it was happening under a Democrat. Hasan Piker didn't even say anything. Now the same thing is happening to Hasan Piker under Trump. We all stand in solidarity with Hasan in his battle against Trump, but notice Hasan and the progressive left had nothing to say about Chairman O'Malley being targeted by Biden. Did they not realize the disturbing precedent Biden was setting, charging the Uhuru 3? Now it's biting them in the ass under Donald Trump, and he shared his search. Yep. No results from Hasan for Uhuru. You didn't say anything about that. Yeah, don't forget this about Hasan Piker. Is like most of these radicals who get that high a profile, they're really sheepdogs for the Democratic Party. Ken Klippenstein has really been on the NSPM 7 story, and he's right. That's what this is. Fed subpoena Hasan Piker over Cuba trips. NSPM 7 is here. That's the National Security Presidential Memorandum number 7. So just a little bit about it for anyone who's forgotten. We've definitely covered this at some point. In the Trump administration's fiscal year 2027 FBI budget request to Congress, another concrete NSPM 7 implementation measure was disclosed. Joint Mission Center, JMC, this body is made up of staff from 10 government agencies with counterterrorism and, quote, criminal operational and analytical expertise with the charge to, quote, proactively identify networks and prosecute domestic terrorists and related criminal actors. Entities facing scrutiny and potential prosecution under this expanding domestic terrorism framework include those with the following: views associated with anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, and anti-Christianity, support for the overthrow of the U.S. government, extremism on migration, race, and gender. Oh, so they're going to go prosecute Elon? They're going to go investigate Elon? He's got some pretty extreme views on those subjects. Hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on family, religion, and morality. Yeah. NSPM 7 said they were going to go and investigate not-for-profits to see if they're, anti-fascist organizations. They were going to task the IRS to go through their taxes and see if they're part of terrorist networks. Yeah, this is that. This is that. Even if it doesn't hold up in court, it's not about that. It's about scaring people. It's about a chilling effect, right? Hasan Piker, presumably Medea Benjamin, through Code Pink, can afford to go to court over this. What if they did it to, smaller fries? What if they do it to the average activist? What if they just grab an activist and prosecute them like this? Are they going to have to take a plea deal? That's the point.
Well, it's also about the money. It's about the money, Lebowski. They want to be able to disrupt financial network. They want to be able to defund a lot of activists.
Make people afraid to donate to them.
Right.
Yep. And here's a crystal ball. Now, I had to do some detective work to get to the bottom of the truth of this. Ironically, it was actually Nick Shirley who appears to have stayed in a sanctioned hotel on this trip while Hasan Piker obeyed the State Department requirements. Okay, so let's see. All right, so E-Man here says, no, he didn't. So it looks like Hasan and Nick will both go to jail. So here, I guess this is Grok. U.S. citizens can legally visit Cuba. However, the Grand Hotel Bristol in Havana, this is where Hasan stayed, is on the U.S. Department of State Cuba prohibited accommodations list. So another poster weighed in here, Zatha Kahneman. Please stop spreading disinformation. Here is the Cuba restricted list and the Cuba prohibited accommodations list. None of them lists the Grand Hotel Bristol Medea. They list other Medea hotels, but not the Bristol one. All right, so this is where this got confusing. All right, so I looked into it. And yeah, you've got a Grand Hotel Bristol Kempinski, right? All right, so hold that thought. So as far as Nick Shirley goes, the furniture is a little different in every room, but kind of looks like Nick Shirley really did stay at a banned embargo hotel. Left side painting is on the right. Walls are yellow, red curtains, and similar layout. All right, so I'm a mob geek, so I know exactly what hotel this is. This is the Hotel Nacional. This is where the mob had their big, famous 1947 conference with Lucky Luciano. It was where they decided to go into the heroin dealing business. It's basically what's being referenced in Godfather 2 with the big gold telephone thing. This was also, they had Frank Sinatra deliver $1 million in cash to Lucky Luciano, because they how do you get cash through customs and guarantee no one's going to check the luggage? Send it with Frank Sinatra. So Frank Sinatra actually brought $1 million cash to Lucky Luciano at this meeting. So there's like pictures of the mobsters on the wall. A lot of famous literary figures stayed there. It's definitely the most famous hotel in Cuba. So the top pictures are their advertisements for the hotel. And then the bottom picture is the video that Nick Shirley put out. So he stayed at the Hotel Nacional. I mean, that looks pretty conclusive that that's where he's staying, which makes sense. I mean, this kid's a plant who's getting paid a lot of money to push propaganda for shadowy forces. He's going to stay in the nicest hotel in Cuba if he's going to go to Cuba. Okay, so, and it's funny, didn't they have a meltdown about Piker and these people staying at a 5-star hotel? I didn't see any of these people having a meltdown about Nick Shirley staying at the Hotel Nacional, literally the nicest hotel in Cuba. So he's definitely in a prescribed Hotel Nacional to Cuba, absolutely. So was Piker. So I looked into this a little more. So there you see Hotel Nacional is on the banned list there. Okay, so this Bristol Kempinski. All right, so I looked at the address, Calle San Rafael.
This is from the State Department website?
It's from the State Department. This is a different list from the first list. There are two different lists. There's a general State Department sanction list, and the Hotel Nacional is actually not on that one. But they have a specific list for accommodations. On the accommodation list, that's where you find the Hotel Nacional listed there. All right. Now, the Grand Hotel Bristol Kempinski is on both lists. It's on the general sanction list, which includes like stores, businesses, things like that, as well as accommodations. The specific accommodation one includes that. Now, this has one address, and then the public listing has a different address. So I thought maybe there were two different hotels, but it looks like it is probably that one is just going with one side of the street address and the other is going with the other, because Grand Hotel Bristol managed by Kempinski. So this has got to be the same hotel, because I don't see any. I looked. I went to trip.com. I went to all these accommodation places. Nah, man, that's the same place. So yes, it looks like Piker was in a sanctioned hotel, as well as Nick Shirley. So rugged individualist. Yeah, I'm sure. You're just mad Nick has accomplished more change as a teenage citizen journalist than you have in your entire career. This is at Crystal Ball. So what has he accomplished? What has he accomplished? So there's from The Truth. So Nick Shirley is a plant. Candace Owens was right. Here he is lying about being held hostage in Cuba. Nick, you are not that important. You were sent to set up a pretext for a war with Cuba. Video credits to the influencer for recording this video. All right, so let's take a look at that.
Make it out of Cuba. If there's a will, there's a way.
I'm currently here at the front desk check-in where Nick Shirley said he's being held hostage by the Cuban government.
We legit have Cuban spies at the bottom of our hotel room.
Nowhere to be seen. Neither is the security and the CIA and the spies that were supposedly holding you hostage.
They're in the lobby right now. The security guard just went down to see what was going on, and they're all down there in the lobby.
Walking in. Hola, buena.
This is probably the most dangerous situation I've ever been in.
So yeah, Nick Shirley all of a sudden mysteriously materializes right before Israel signs a deal to recognize Somaliland, a breakaway province of Somalia, where they're building a military base. James Lee, the Israeli media is now reporting that Mossad were the first to uncover the Somalian daycare fraud in Minnesota. Coincidentally, Israel just recognized Somaliland with plans to build a new military base and relocate Palestinians there. Nick Shirley is 100% fed slop. Isn't that obvious? Isn't that obvious? Nobody that stupid could elevate themselves to that level that quickly unless they were being artificially astroturfed into the media ecosystem. He's obviously a complete fucking moron. You can see that in any video you watch this guy. Yeah, this is the most dangerous situation I've ever been in. He's got an IQ of like 83, this guy. They grabbed him as an op, and he does what he gets paid to do. And they're absolutely right. He got paid to go help to set up a pretext for an invasion of Cuba, just like he was sent in. I will say, man, the Nick Shirley Somalia fraud op was the only really effective Israeli propaganda I've seen since October 7th. That was smart because they never said the word Israel. They just manipulated racists into jumping up and down about Somalians right before they wanted to make this deal with Somaliland. That was actually effective. But yeah, Nick Shirley's a plant. In terms of what's going on with this, yeah, man, that is very scary. It's very funny that the United States, with increasingly less ability to convince anybody, continues to premise that they have a superior system because people aren't free in communist countries. Well, this is a hell of a way to show that people are free here. You're finding these very flimsy pretexts to go after people for what is clearly thought crimes. They are trying to find legal ways to get around the First Amendment. That's all this is. And it's not the first time. You know, what do they say? Fascism is liberalism under threat. What happened in the 60s when they got scared, when the activism got real? COINTELPRO, MK Ultra, right? They start infiltrating these groups, assassinating Fred Hampton. That's what they'll do if the system is actually under threat. You have freedom of speech as long as your speech is not effective. Because that's good for the system, right? That's a certain way they have of keeping the animals in the cages, right? By convincing them they're not in a cage. So it's good to let people have free speech as long as it's not effective. When it starts to actually have an impact, when it starts to actually threaten the system, that's it. All the rights you think you have, that shit goes right out the window. That's what we're seeing now. They know that the conditions for working people, based on the way they want to continue to run the economy, are going to deteriorate. They're going to continue to deteriorate. They're going to get worse. Look at all of the layoffs already from AI. You're already having thousands of layoffs at these different companies. That's only going to get worse. What are they going to do? They're going to create UBI. These people. Oh, man. They're going to fucking kill you, man. They're going to kill you. They're setting up a police state where whatever economic opportunity or rights you've come to take as your right as an American, as a Westerner, more broadly, they're trying to create a world where your children will not even remember those expectations. They're trying to turn you into a techno peasant. All of this stuff, they're not in a position yet where they can just lock up the judges or kill the judges. So they got to get around the First Amendment. That is what this is. And it's one of those stories that's not getting a lot of coverage. There's probably the most significant story in the news this week in terms of the way that they're restructuring the society. And no, We know from experience the Democrats are not coming to save you. Did Obama get rid of the Patriot Act? Did he get rid of the things that Democrats won't get rid of this? They'll use it to their own ends, which are going to basically be the same ends.
You know, when Hasan was at the hotel, I remember people saying, well, look, you're staying in a luxury hotel. And I thought he said this was one of the only hotels we were allowed to stay in because it wasn't a government hotel. I seem to remember him saying that, which is weird because at the time I thought, just watching it, that if the island is in darkness, wouldn't the private hotels be the ones with power? Because
it also
everything
seems
was
like
dark
this
with generators.
Kempinski is a private company, but maybe the hotel is owned by the government, but they manage the hotel. It is on the list, and I did not find any other hotel. And the pictures matched.
Yeah,
that was another thing. So no, that's definitely the same hotel.
Yeah. So don't take this as advice if you're going to Cuba. Do your own research. Make sure you stay at the correct hotel to avoid getting into trouble with the sanctions, because it's very confusing to the point where, you know, we were talking about, you know, I'm surprised they allow travel there at all, because it looks like they're getting ready to invade Cuba, at which point they probably will just suspend all travel, because how could you travel to a place and navigate these complexities about where can I go, where could I not go?
I'm sure he thought he was, with the thing that might have caused him to make that mistake is it's being managed by what's clearly like a hotel chain.
Well, that's a hell of a mistake. I mean, you know, the laws are such that apparently, in order to be criminally charged, you have to have willfully violated the sanctions, and then there's fines and civil penalties if you do it by accident. And of course, that gets very legalese, and you know, lawyers will negotiate that if it comes to that. As of now, it's just a subpoena, a request for information, which, to Nick's point, I mean, the Biden administration went a lot further than that against Omali Yeshitela. They indicted them. You know, they almost were successful in putting them in jail for a long time. Scott Ritter's house was raided under suspicion that he was some sort of foreign actor. Now, no charges to this day have come of that, of course. But it's very, very scary. The thing that makes this most terrifying is the vagueness of it, right? I mean, what makes a legal system operate fairly is its concreteness and its universal. It's the universality of applied principles and applied rules, right? Whereas you start getting into gray areas, like, you know, supporting certain ideologies. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean material support? Does it mean political support, local support? Now, sanctions, it's dollars and cents, it's material goods, which again, if the flight to Cuba was legal, which we know it was, otherwise it wouldn't have left. They traveled from the United States. I'm assuming, and this is just my assumption, but I can't imagine this is not true, that if you're bringing materials to Cuba, if you got a plane, because they have to get the stuff there, right? You got a plane full of stuff, or maybe there were boats that came in. I don't know exactly how they got it there. But if you ship a large quantity of material from the United States to a country under sanctions, you got to imagine that those materials are being inspected and approved for transfer.
Sure.
Right.
Well, they're not accusing them of bringing illegal goods.
Right. Not contraband.
No, they're not saying that.
Right. They're saying he stayed at the wrong hotel. Is that what this is about? Is this about the hotel?
I mean, it seems like that's the only concrete thing that they're able to get their hands around, and they're using it as a fishing expedition to try to find other pretexts of claiming support for a sanctioned government.
It's money. They want to know who gave the money, you know, who they arranged this stuff with, you know, who financed it. It's about disrupting the money. That's what a lot of this is about. So if you find a pretext to look into it more, now all of a sudden everybody associated with that trip is under a certain microscope, you know. And look, there's the American left has been persecuted for as long as there's been an American left. So it's nothing new in that sense. But it's scary in the sense that it's very vague. And in the sense that this looks like the next war. I mean, it looks like we're just going to go around the world overthrowing governments. Like, is this is this what you voted for, Mr. America First? Time to reprioritize the American people? Really? That's what this is. I mean, this is just, it's a nightmare, and that's another element of it that is very, very troubling. Of course.
Well, this was one of the reasons, because you saw, I've started working on my, epic China report. And, one of the things I really want to get across to people who have never been to a communist country is, for an American in particular, it's kind of like The Man in the High Castle. The way The Man in the High Castle, the premise is you're in an alternate reality where the Nazis won the war, right? There's like an alternate reality where the communists won the society. Like, you've never experienced anything like that. Your entire life, the hammer and the sickle are, objects of suspicion and derision. To go to places where, like, that's the central paradigm of the culture, it's absolutely mind-blowing. And once you've experienced that, to come back here and see all of this hyperventilating hysteria about countries where, look, whatever their faults, it's very different when you go to a museum and the analysis of the history is about class and the people who are celebrated are workers and the triumph of workers. That is a very different view of society than what you have here, which is a celebration of rich people, right? That's the way they tell history. It's about Rockefeller, Carnegie, right? There, the way they tell history is of the proletariat gaining class consciousness and overthrowing their oppressors. That's the way they talk about history. And it becomes very clear if you go there and you come back here, that's what they're terrified of. This is why they spend so much time breaking your brain and brainwashing you. That whole Fox article to make you think, oh, the communists, they're a threat to the US. They're coming for you. They're not fucking coming for you. They just want you crazy bastards to leave them alone, which you won't do.
Yeah, I mean, it's not 1962. I mean, there's no missile, like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like, during the Soviet, like, you could make the case, and I'm still, I'm anti-war in this respect, obviously. But, like, you could make the case in the 50s and 60s that Cuba at least, was a threat in the sense that there were missiles parked there, right? Like, so you could justify saying you can't go there, whatever, like, in that pretext. Like, obviously, I think we should have invited Russia into the international community after World War II, and there should have never been a Cold War. Like, I'm not a Cold Warrior here, but I'm just saying, like, there were missiles pointed at us. So, okay, fine. But now what? Now what is Cuba? There's no weaponry there. There's not doing anything. What are they doing? So it's just, it's insanity. It's really crazy. And like, if you got to be that careful going to a place, then why even allow people to travel there? Like, why allow people to go there on humanitarian missions if they got to make sure they don't go to the wrong hotel by accident? You know what I mean? Like, it just seems so insane. But of course, whether they end up charging Hasan or anything like that, which criminal charges seem unlikely unless they can prove intent, they may slap him with a fine or whatever. But what they're really, I think, up to here is, coming up with a justification to get more information to investigate financial networks. I mean, that's what I think it's about at the end of the day.
Right.
It's all about the money, because if they can dismantle financial networks for left organizing, then they can crush political opposition movements. And this is not me speculating. Like, they've said this. We're going to look into the funding of these groups. Like, this is their stated goal, their stated MO. You can't just do it for no reason. You need a reason. And so, a guy stayed at a hotel he wasn't supposed to stay at. That can be the reason. So we'll see what happens from here. But yeah, it's certainly a very, very troubling development, and we'll see if any more comes of it. All right. You want to take some super chats and some Rumble rants? Let's put the scroll up on the screen here. Jake, thank you very much. So, hey, folks, it is Q&A night. So if you become a member, Patreon, Substack, or Locals, most recent post will give you access to the call-in link for our Q&A after the show tonight. It's one of many perks that you get as a member. So we thank you all very much for your support. Once again, if you're joining the show late, we had to redo all of our links before we started the show tonight because we had a technical error where the stream was not syncing to YouTube on our first batch of links, which means that the call-in link on the first email is obsolete. So if you are a patron and you plan on calling in tonight, you got to use the new link in the new email that Jake sent out about 20 after 7 would be my guess is when that email went out. All right, let's go ahead. You want to take some chats?
Let's do it. Stoop sign. Aditi, I think the blackmail is bad, but that they will kill Trump, his bloodline, and Kushner too. I've genuinely thought there was likely no blackmail on Bernie, but that he would like living grandkids.
It's so crazy.
They had shit on his wife. They had she did some shenanigans at that college.
It is crazy, though, that a gunman appears outside the White House as this negotiation is taking place. Netanyahu,
Sure.
well, you're glad he's okay because he's one of our best friends. Now, about this deal you are going to do, we are, of course, in full agreement that we cannot have a ceasefire with Lebanon.
We're glad he
weird shit.
came to his senses.
Yeah, that is some weird shit right there.
First Queen Fire Dancer, AJ Freeman, and Wilt Chamberlain are getting slandered by you guys repeatedly.
AJ Friedman.
I must protest.
HA and AJ sound the same.
Yeah.
Right? HA or AJ. They sound identical when you say them fast. HA or AJ. AJ Friedman.
First Queen Fire Dancer. Off topic. I had a really vivid dream. You guys were in the remake of Wizard of Oz. Keaton was Dorothy, Russ was Toto, and Amanda was Jake. I was promoting it among my friends, saying how good it was. Well, that would be good.
That is
maybe that should be the fall show.
Yeah, the Wizard of Oz, starring Russell Dobular as Dorothy's dog.
Yeah. I watched the second part of Wizard, the Wicked movie on the plane from China. Yeah, it wasn't as good as the first one. The first one was pretty good. Second one was kind of boring.
Yeah, we sang "For Good" as my graduation song. It's a good song. It's a sweet
Oh,
song.
did you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a nice song. It's a sad song, you know. It's a good
Yeah.
musical song.
First Queen Fire Down. Whoops.
Did that one?
Did that one already. Okay. Q Srivarat. Russ, I appreciate your comments about how inorganic so much of media is. I mean, most of it is.
Yeah.
And thank you. RKN 2022. Keaton, the saying is, if my aunt had nuts, she'd be my uncle.
Yeah, there you go.
Great hockey
All right.
coach, commentator, Don Cherry.
That's good. That's a little more concise than mine.
Andy Gardner. He will be forgiven if Keaton unleashes his secret. What secret is that?
Who will be forgiven?
Who will be forgiven? What are you talking about?
I don't know.
Carl Knight. Are you theater kids familiar with Alan Caprow, the performance artist who coined the term happenings? Is theater the best artistic medium to inspire political mobilization? All right. So the fact that you're even referencing happenings, you got to know that the whole theater kids thing, that is a conflation of theater as it was when they were doing happenings with, the people who get into theater because they loved Wicked, right? It's
Right.
a totally different thing. That Glee thing, it's a totally different thing. Yeah, look, that always existed. It's like they're like cousins to theater people. Like the
Right.
musical theater people, like real theater people, never really considered them. It's like related, like people who sing in a jazz club are related to theater in some way.
Right.
They're not like theater people. Like if you were going to find like devout Christians who get on a stage, they were the musical theater people. They were not like the theater people. So yeah, I mean, that's coming out of theater. Is it the most effective political art form? I mean, it's good because it's such a collectivized activity. It's such a group activity that you can do very effective agitprop through it. But I think music is also very effective. I mean, if there's something that can be maybe like the most effective, it might be music because it is so shareable. You know what I mean? Like for theater, you got to be there. You got to come to that event. Whereas everyone can have that in their phone, right? Like it can go viral in a way that theater can.
Right.
Theater's good for like, I think, community building. But I would say in terms of propaganda, music is probably the most effective.
Yeah, I would agree. All right. Let's take a few more here. Did you guys see Greenwald debate MAGA stooges on Jubilee? Absolute gong show. No, I didn't.
I knew that was happening.
I knew it was happening, though. I guess it'll be fun. You know, I don't love the Jubilee format, not just because they copyright block the videos, so we can't use them, but I don't like it. How I like when somebody's being dominated in a debate, you want to see them be dominated. You don't want somebody to tap them out, you know, and then go bring the other guy in. Plus, it's like a lot of the points go unresolved. Like, you know, like one of the people will ask a tough question to one of the challengers, and rather than answer it, somebody beeps him out and he goes in and then they start a whole new conversation. It's like, what's the point? I thought you were going to make them answer that question. So I don't love the format, but it would be fun to watch that one for sure. The Jordan Peterson one was fucking, oops, did I delete that by accident?
No, I think I did.
Oh, okay. The Jordan Peterson one was great. What did that guy say? You're a nothing. You're a whole lot of nothing.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a 20-year-old kid. It says you're a big nothing. That was funny. U.S. Oops, sorry. Go ahead. You take it.
Pete Sweet. U.S. pumping up communist propaganda before Cuban invasion. After Trump just got back from performing fellatio on Xi Jinping on the world stage, the biggest communist country in the world. Yeah, it's a fucking clown show, Pete.
It's a clown show. He just said, I mean, Trump just said, you know, your system, I got to say, it shouldn't work, but it works pretty well. And now, now this. It's
well, you know, if I got to look up the exact number, but I believe 55% of business is still owned by China in China. Like it's not all privatized the way that people think. And Trump has been making moves in that direction with the government buying shares in American companies. Like China's not becoming more like us. We're becoming more like that because their system works better. Rolling Rock. I wanted to give 50, but Russell's cowbell is weak.
Yeah.
Like, look, man, that's not a cowbell. That's a prayer bell from Lao, man.
Yeah.
That's an antique bell from an actual temple in Lao.
Wow. All right. Let's go right on to your segment 6 since we started late. And I don't want to keep people up till 1 o'clock in the morning calling in here. So we'll do my piece on Tuesday.
So we're not going to do VF2? We're gonna...
Yeah, no, we'll do it Tuesday. It's a whole lot of reading. I think we've done enough reading.
Well, actually,
it's been an overly literate show.
All right, hang on, because I've got to put a couple of videos on.
All right, here I'll go here. Hey, Sparky. Hey, Sparky's over here. Where you been, Sparky? Generation Jones, the last of the boomers, grew up during the Malaise era. Every day was an adventure among the post-apocalyptic like ruins. This made up for the economy. I had a great childhood. So you're a boomer, Sparky? Look at that. Based boomer Sparky over here. Why didn't you say so? Sparky, you know, you could have.
Get them off our back.
Yeah, get them off our back. Make yourself known. Nick Shirley's U.S. State Department agenda has to be in coloring book form. That's how dumb he really is. Thank you, Virtuoso. Appreciate that very much. All right.
All right, I think I got them.
Tusker says, great show, boys. Thank you, Tusker. Appreciate that very much, Tusker. Thank you. All right. We'll take the rest of these after this final segment of the evening. Thanks for being here. Thanks for Jake. Thanks to Jake for being in the booth. Smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button, folks, if you're not already subscribed. Please and thank you very much. All right. One more.
All right. So the Flotilla victims have been released by Israel this week after the Ben Gvir video kind of forced their hand. But you know what, man? I mean, there's a lot of focus on the fact that these sick fucks great people right now. Oh, was that too early in the video?
Yeah, let's try let's try rascals. Let's try miscreants.
Those wascally wabbits.
Yeah.
Can you just cut that, or should I start again? You want
I
me
think
to
we
set
should
it up
probably
again?
start again as by now. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll start again.
All
All
right,
right.
let's
No,
take this
no
again.
F-bombs in the first minute.
First 15 seconds, really, I think.
First
15 to
15
30
seconds?
seconds. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. You know, this subject brings it out in me. For good reason. All right. So the Flotilla hostages were released by Israel this week. There's been, because of the Nicholas Kristof article, there's been a lot of focus on the tendency of the Israelis to great people. Unfortunately, you know, there was a German journalist who was held in the last illegal detention of Flotilla activists, who very bravely went up at a press conference and talked about how she had been raped. And it was, as you would expect, ignored by the world media. But here's a little bit of the experience she described.
I was part of the Freedom Flotilla as a journalist. I was on the journalist and medical boat, the Conscience, on the way to Gaza this fall. Around 100 nautical miles away from the coast of Gaza, we were intercepted. We were put into prison for 5 days. And in this speech, as a woman, I want to talk about the sexual violence I experienced in prison. I do not want to talk about it just to put the focus on myself, because it is nothing personal, it is nothing individual, and it's nothing that I should be ashamed about. We were transferred from one prison to another, and during the strip searches, I was raped. I'm sharing this to say it again, and not just for me, and not just because I'm the only one that experienced it, because this is not true. I'm sharing it for all the women who experience sexual violence and sexual torture in the prisons, for all the women who have experienced similar horrible things in the prison and probably are experiencing them right now as we're speaking on this conference.
Okay, and that got very little press. But hey, nobody should be surprised that they did it to these activists. They did it to the previous ones. Freed Gaza Flotilla activists allege Israeli abuse, including rape, from Reuters. Activists released from Israeli custody after being detained on a flotilla trying to bring aid to Gaza were subjected to abuse, organizers said on Friday, with several hospitalized with injuries and at least 15 reporting sexual assaults, including rape. Israel's prison service denied the allegations, and Reuters was not able to verify them independently. Germany said some of its nationals had been injured and that some accusations were serious without giving further details. Isn't it horrible that this woman that we just played the video of, she was a German citizen, and the Germans are still one of the worst in cracking down on pro-Palestine protesters and arresting them for speech after their own citizen was sexually abused in an Israeli prison. It's an absolute disgrace. I think whatever lesson the Germans learned from their Nazi past, they took away the wrong lesson. Germany said some of its nationals had been injured and that some accusations were serious without giving further details. A legal source in Italy said prosecutors there were investigating possible crimes, including kidnapping and sexual assault. Quote, the allegations raised are false and entirely without factual basis, an Israeli prison service spokesperson said in a statement. All prisoners and detainees are held in accordance with the law, with full regard for their basic rights and under the supervision of professional and trained prison staff. It said, you can't make this shit up. Medical care is provided according to professional medical judgment and in accordance with Ministry of Health guidelines. Now, I'm sure you all saw this, man, but it's worth taking a look at this because right here, what they're saying is a lie because this is illegal. You are not allowed under international law to abuse, mistreat prisoners this way, and to basically put them in hostage videos where you force them to sing a national anthem, this kind of thing. All of this is forbidden under international law. But there's one thing Gavir did.
ברוכים הבאים לישראל, אנחנו בעלי הבית. ככה צריך. ישראל חי.
This is what they're doing fully in front of camera intentionally. Ben Gavir, he's the head of the prison. This is the head of the prison. The claim that they have abided by international law is contradicted by the video that their own director of the prison released. That is a violation of international law in and of itself. So there's a picture of one of the participants, Heidi Matthews. Flotilla participants are arriving at Istanbul airport. This is what Israel military and prison personnel did to them. Yeah. It's an accident. They fell. They tripped. Flotilla activist Mariam Hajjal described being essayed by Israeli forces. So we have that video. Let's see what she said of her own experience. Take that down. On this boat, which we nicknamed the torture boat, I was subjected to torture. As soon as we arrived, they stripped us and took away our warm clothes. Then they made us go one by one into a black container. I was subjected to sexual harassment. There were 3 soldiers in that container and a comrade lying on the ground with his pants pulled down. They forced my head forward, and then one of them began touching my chest. Afterwards, I was hit with heavy, deafening slaps to the head, and the groping continued. Yeah. What was it? Was it they say the world's most moral army? Is that what they say? Here's another victim. Danish activist from the Global Subpoenaed Flotilla says Israeli forces subjected activists to beating and humiliation after intercepting them. Let's see what she said. What did they do to you? They fired rubber bullets at people, and they don't treat them well. They beat them violently. They force everyone to sit in painful positions. They humiliate people. This is what they do. And this is also what the Palestinians told us. This is what they do. But why did you go? Some people say you knew Israel would stop you. Why did you go? We went because the Palestinians spoke about this issue. We have been here in Denmark in the streets for more than 2.5 years, and you are doing nothing. Denmark is complicit in the war of genocide. The politicians and you as well, the journalists. We go there because you are not doing your job properly. Thank you for coming today, but this is only a small step. Hear, hear, man. Hear, hear. And yet another Dutch activist, I want to get her name and give her credit, Jessie Aletta van Schaik, who was on board the global flotilla, says Israel illegally kidnapped her and hundreds of others.
Kidnapped by Israel, like 425 other people. We all were in detention, and they put handcuffs on my hands and on my feet. They dragged me, and when I couldn't walk anymore, they dragged me on the ground. They hit me. They hurt all of us a lot. They put the handcuffs so tight that my hands at some point lost feeling, and they laughed all the time. These people were super sadistic. They abused us, they mistreated and hit us, and they took pictures of us. They took off my shirt, and then they just kept on mistreating us all night long.
Did you have
my
any
message to the world is
for the
shame
world?
on you, shame on all of you, shame on everyone who is silent about this, shame on every government that keeps on trading like Israel, including my own government. They keep on trading with Israel. Israel is the genocide. My government is complicit. The whole of Europe is complicit. The whole world is complicit. So my message to all governments is shame on you, and to all people is please stand up and make noise for Palestine, for all genocides around the world, because if we don't do it, no one else will do it. Like if we don't go in the flotilla, the governments won't solve it. No one will solve it. Only the people can solve this.
Such bravery, man. Because you know, with the Israelis, they could kill you, man. They could kill you. No one's going to hold them accountable. You're talking about sick, psychopathic people with absolute impunity to do whatever they want. So here's a few of the men talking about the abuse.
Another Israeli soldier asked me to help with the people, but one Israeli soldier didn't like that I was giving water to people, so he came and stabbed me in my hand. And I have no sensation. I have lost the sensation all here. So I see what it is. And of course, all of us have collapsed lungs and broken ribs and everything. We were beaten real bad, real bad. It wasn't beating as self-defense, it was beating as punishment. They were punishing us.
We were on these newly developed jail boats. There was 2 of them, 160 on mine. There was 3 containers, shipping containers that we slept in, bare metal floors. We were welcomed by tasers. The number of times I was beaten into the ground with my head, through my toes. I had no shoes, and people would stamp on them with their military feet. My knees, which are both surgery, they also have bruises all around because of being thrown around. I've got bruises all over, and that's just a handling. Now, it's also important to say that we have nothing of the treatment that the people of Palestine do. And that's why we are here, to try and do something about this crisis of humanity. And that is what is important. Let's focus on Palestine. Yes, we will talk about our wounds, but only in context that Palestine is what matters.
The interception, we were taken off the boat, put on the prison ship. In the process of going through to go to Ashdod prison, I was beaten all the way through the knocked out. I was kicked in the genitals. I was tied behind a chair and punched. The soldier said he would hurt me every minute I was with him. I have no idea. I said nothing to him. I didn't smash me into the wall to knock me out. Yeah, a bit of pain. Yeah. It's been last night and today's been sore, but not as much pain as what our Palestinians in Gaza will be going through. So my pain is little compared to theirs. Governments need to get off their hands and actually stand up for the indigenous Palestinians. They need to fight the genocide that Israel is committing.
It's one of the most amazing things, because you've seen this again and again with everyone who's been tortured, even the poor German journalist there who was actually raped by the Israelis. They all bring it back to the Palestinians. They always do. They always do. Whenever they talk about what the Israelis did to them, they always say this isn't about me. Even people who've been through the ultimate torture and violation. And hey, man, working for Mehdi Hasan, there's no protection. There's one of Mehdi Hasan's reporters was on the flotilla, and they tortured this guy too.
Particularly would take my cuffs and they would like go like this with them over and over again, and it was so painful. One time I just blacked out. I couldn't handle it. It was so painful. And in fact, when I came to, I was like being drugged while he was doing that. And when I came to, I was coming back into Kitsia prison from the bus. And when I got into the prison, I came to and I was like blurry, but I saw an Israeli prison guard to my right. And all I heard, really, because I could barely see him, was he just said, "You're from the United States?" And I said, "Yes." And he was like, "Well, this is my country." And then he hit me in the ribs a couple times and then passed me into the interior cell block where we were
Trust me,
detained
our
for a
country
second.
is your country too.
And that's just like, that was my introduction to Kitsia. Well, my reintroduction, because I had been there before, but I just, that was a really tone setting. I mean, that's basically the attitude that they came to us with.
Now, if they'll do that to him, and there's the point that they're all making, imagine what they do to the Palestinians. Right? They know these people are going to come back and tell these stories, and they'll do that to them. And they know they're going to get press for it, that Palestinians never would. And they still did it. A little more from the article. Global Subpoenaed Flotilla, the organizers of the aid shipment, said the group had documented at least 15 cases of sexual abuse, with the worst occurring on one Israeli landing craft, which had been converted into a makeshift prison with barbed wire and shipping containers. Detainees were thrown into the containers and beaten over the head and ribs, the group said in a statement. They suffered multiple cases of sexual abuse, including humiliating strip searches, sexual taunting, groping and pulling of genitals, and multiple accounts of rape. At least 12 sexual assaults have been documented on that vessel alone, including anal rape and forcible penetration by a handgun, it added. Rome prosecutors are investigating the possible crimes of kidnapping, torture, and sexual assault, and will hear testimony from activists who have returned to Italy over the coming days, the Italian legal source said. A German foreign ministry spokesperson said consular officials who met German activists on their arrival in Istanbul reported that a number had injuries and were undergoing medical checks. Quote, "We naturally expect a full explanation as some of the allegations that have been made are serious," the spokesperson said. Sabrina Charik, who helped organize the return of 37 French citizens from the flotilla, told Reuters 5 French participants had been hospitalized in Turkey, some with broken ribs or fractured vertebrae. Some had made detailed accusations of sexual violence, including of rape, she said. Now, this was a shocking turn for a lot of people, but now I think we have an explanation. Upon returning to the Basque region, some of the activists were beaten by the police. So let's take a look at that. He's in the Basque region of Spain. But now, I think because Spain, along with Ireland, has probably taken the strongest stance on the Israel-Palestine conflict, if you want to call it that. Nobody knew what to make of this. Like this was very shocking. Like, why would this happen? And of course, the Israelis are, with their usual charm, trying to use this as a pretext to exonerate themselves. Israel Foreign Ministry, we demand an explanation from the Spanish government regarding its treatment of the Flotilla anarchists. Well, your wish is my command. So here's the explanation for why this would happen in Spain. Basque police beat global Subpoenaed flotilla torture survivors in Spain. The brutal Bilbao beating exposes 1.6 million euro Israeli training program for Basque police. Well, you asked for an explanation, so we're gonna give you one, although you probably already knew this. Technology and equipment, the Ertzaintza. So that's the name of the Basque police. I'm sure a lot of you know there's been a lot of controversy around that region for a very long time about Basque separatism, wanting their own nation. So there's a certain amount of autonomy here. So their police force has some autonomy from the national police force of Spain. They kind of operate independently of them, which makes sense. Like, it just doesn't make any sense given the Spanish government's position on Israel that this would happen. Like, how would that happen? The Ertzaintza has purchased Israeli technology and equipment for years. Its phone tapping system comes from Verint Systems, an Israeli company with deep ties to Israeli military intelligence. An Israeli firm, ICTS, has managed security at some of their facilities. They've used Israeli body armor, surveillance cameras, and listening devices. The Ertzaintza has participated in training from Israeli sources, including courses from Guardian Defense and Homeland Security, a company run by a former Mossad agent that has provided live fire training to Spanish police. Financial ties. These aren't minor transactions. Basque institutions have reportedly spent over 1.66 million euros on contracts with Israeli-linked security companies. In 2021, the Ertzaintza signed a contract for 3,569.50 euros just for, quote, supply of stun and distraction grenade carriers from these same Israeli sources. For years, Israel has aggressively cultivated relationships with European police forces through security training programs. Companies like Israeli Tactical School, International Protection Services, and ISA Security Academy market themselves as premier counterterrorism experts. Their instructors come from Shin Bet, the Israeli Secret Service. Their doctrine emphasizes aggressive tactics, crowd suppression, and treating dissent as a security threat. Well, there's your explanation. I hope we have pleased the Israeli Foreign Ministry by explaining why the Basque police in particular would act like a bunch of sick fucking animals when these people who were just tortured by other sick fucking animals return home. Francesca Albanese, arguably the most based European alive. Shame on the Basque police for brutalizing flotilla members returning home after being abducted, unlawfully detained, and ill-treated by Israel. May those responsible be held accountable. We must resist the Israelization of our societies. Yeah, too late for us over here. Too late for us. Maybe not too late for some others. And, you know, a lot of Zion-Nazis on X were jumping up and down talking about how nobody would care about this because it wasn't Israel, how there's a double standard. Well, looks like they care.
Volvemos a esa señal que les mostrábamos.
These are the people in Balbo protesting.
En directo hace unos minutos desde Bilbao, donde se está celebrando una
Yeah, so nobody ignored it because it wasn't Israeli. There was quite a lot of attention paid to it by the kind of people who care about these crimes. When they're committed by Israel, they cared about them when they were committed in Spain too. So, there is a certain amount of momentum about recording these crimes, particularly of sexual assault by Israel, because the Times kind of gave permission. It kind of gives everybody else permission. That's part of why sick fucks here in my native New York went and did a right to rape rally outside the New York Times last week. Because, yeah, man, now the ice has been broken. I saw usually when I look up these stories, when I'm preparing these segments, I can only find them covered in like Al Jazeera. That's everyone's CNN, AP, Reuters. This was all picked up by corporate media. Now, will it cycle right back out of the news? Yeah, probably. Unfortunately, it's for people like us to continue to draw attention to it because they're not going to. But you have to ask with these, do you hit a breaking point? Because it looks like these countries, Italy, Germany, France, it looks like they are going to do processing of their citizens and take their stories. Now, what do? Do they just ignore it? Like, how much longer can you continue to trade with what is clearly a Nazi regime? What else do you call this? This is a criminal, psychopathic country at a level of mass psychosis maybe never seen in the history of the world. I don't know that you've ever seen a country that is this deranged in such a great percentage of its citizenship. The Nazis never won more than a third of the vote in the country. They actually came to power through a parliamentary maneuver. Netanyahu, he keeps getting elected there, man. He represents these people. This is a very sick country. It is so sick, they think they have a right to grape. They think they have a right to do this. They keep doing it even though they know all of this scrutiny is on them. How much longer do you trade with this country? How much longer do you reinforce this Holocaust narrative that there's some unique victimhood that gives an endless get out of jail free card for a country of psychotic rapists? Like, how long are you going to keep doing this? It seems like you're getting to a tipping point, particularly with Italy, because God bless their workers. They keep shutting the place down over Israel. It looks like Maloney is ready to actually break relations with Israel. But it's just incredible that they keep doing this to people, and all these countries keep pretending that Israel has some inviolate right to exist. They have to support this country. Like, how much longer can they do that?
Yeah, well, the real question for me is, when these younger people grow up and many of them enter politics for themselves, how are they going to react to the realization of why their political system is as owned by Israel as it is? Like, I'm not saying there's literally a moment where they show you the alternate angle of the JFK assassination, is rumored to take place here. But there's got to be some way you learn through going through a political process just why the whole world is as paralyzed as it is in the face of this obvious evil. I mean, in the case of Israel, all you got to do is say no. That's it. Like, they're an isolated country. Like, if they were forced to change, meaning forced to disband their apartheid system and be diplomatic with their neighbors, which would include, of course, obviously, granting Palestinians the right of return, then they would have no choice but to do it. Like it's not a particularly heavy lift to just say, listen, we're not being a part of this anymore. You're on your own, which means you have to figure out a way to resolve this. That's all it would take.
Yep.
So why don't the countries of the world do it? At a certain point, the new generation is going to seek political power, and they're going to go through these systems in their countries, and they're going to figure out why this works the way it does, because it's so obvious that it shouldn't, and so mind-boggling that, like, these people, they torture people, they insist they have the right to treat prisoners however they like. Look what they did to Gaza. Look what they're doing to Lebanon. Look what they insist other countries do for them. At a certain point, like I said, this next crop of leadership is going to either be absorbed into that same system where some of these principles go out the window for whatever reason, or they're going to confront this system and change it. But that's going to be a crisis point. How could it not be? Because I feel like the main divide, as usual, is a generational divide. And no, that's not because the older generations are intrinsically worse. It's because the propaganda has been marinating for a lot longer, right? And so you have a global reckoning here, where the new generations are just coming in with a completely different attitude towards this issue, and that's going to run up against old and perhaps antiquated, but still somewhat potent political systems and enforcement of those systems. And that is going to be a very, very messy process of how that gets sorted out.
I don't know how much longer even the current establishments are going to be able to maintain this. Like, it's going to be piecemeal. I think Italy's going to be the next domino to fall. I think Italy's going to wind up basically going the way of Spain. I think Meloni feels the pressure from her population. Look, man, when I was there, they strike in Italy all the time. They strike because it's Tuesday. They had a strike of the water taxis in Venice, which, that's crippling for Venice. They constantly have strikes there. So labor there is organized, and they know how to leverage their power, and they've done it several times over this issue. The signals Meloni is putting out, it looks like they're going to be next.
We will see. We shall see. All right, folks. Well, we're going to take a few more chats, and then we're going to close the lights on the stream and head over to the Q&A for Rumblers. Everybody's welcome to watch over on Rumble. Patrons, paid Substackers, paid Locals members are welcome to call in and chat a little bit. Julie Desnick says, Girl Next Door, Liv Nuzzi was Kennedy's journalist. Yes. The Code Pink person sounds like that. Sounds like that name. I caught that too. Professor Brown Note says, I guess Russ is aware that should the China Chronicles turn out unsatisfactory, the cute little robot will self-activate and strangle Russ in his sleep. Exactly. Sparky, my great-great-grandfather stopped by Cuba around 1851 on his way to California during the first attempt at Cuba Libre. Spanish were suspicious of Americans since some were backing the rebels. Interesting. Wow. Storied life you lead, Sparky. Rowan Rock, thanks for the $50. Look at that. I've adjusted my attitude and I'm ready for the prayer bell. Good on you, my friend. Let's have a ring, ring, ring for that prayer bell. Thank you, Rowan Rock. Appreciate that very much. Zippin' Zip 5kin says, can you play on stream Who Funds the Left by RTSG? It'll help inform the audience on why the left is such a mess. Nick from RBN loves it. I have not even seen that. I will look into it, though. I'll look it up. All right. My curiosity is piqued. Andy Gardner says, Keaton said Trump would be forgiven for his secrets. I figured Keaton probably had some dark secret to share too. It was dumb. Apologies aplenty. No, it's all right. Wasn't no offense taken. It's just sometimes if we read a super chat too long after we say the thing, we lose our frame of reference. That's all. Comparing Israelis to Nazis is so old and hackneyed anymore. That's why I compare them to Japan's Koka.
It's a very, very sophisticated reference.
Very sophisticated. That's right. Tusker, thanks for the $2. Keaton, what's the new book in your background? Yeah, I decided to privilege this just to give my background some variety. These are those Japanese woodblock paintings. I always liked them. So I have a book full of them. They're kind of cool, See?
Would you ever go to Japan, Keaton?
They're woodblock paintings. My brother went to Japan.
Did
He climbed Mount Fuji. Yeah, his law firm, they would do like these like death-defying trips for like
I
team
see.
building. You know, you go and
Yeah,
you do
right.
something that could get you killed, and that makes you
Yeah.
more of a big-dicked man, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess that's the idea.
That's why I went up in the balloon.
Yeah. No, he seriously, like, he took a
Put,
picture of
put,
himself.
put a half inch on me.
He, yeah, right. I figure I needed it. I measure every 5 years. I realized I was missing a little something. Yeah, no, he took a picture from on top of Mount Fuji.
Well,
I
I got the tip pulled off in a machine.
Yeah. I don't think they went all the way to the peak, but he went pretty high up. And he said, yeah, he was quite scared. Like, it gets hard to breathe up there. It's very cold up there. It's not fun. But would I go to Japan? I mean, yeah, theoretically I would go places. I mean, the thing about Japan that's nice is you can stay at whatever hotel you want. That's nice.
Yeah. See?
Keaton, what is the new book? Yep, that's the book there. I've had that book for a while. I just decided to privilege it. I'm trying to flesh out the background. F is real, says Sparky. Thank you, Sparky.
All right, so Mount Fuji, that is about the same height as the mountain in Sapa.
Yeah, I don't know how tall it is, but it's pretty big. Where do you think we are 3.5 years from now? A fascist, techno-feudalist surveillance state controlled by Trump and Israel, or back to Obama, Biden, neoliberalism? 3.5 years from now?
I think it's that either way. Like it's just aesthetic and culture war, man. Like it's not going to be a tech dystopia with Democrats, with neoliberal Democrats. It'll still be a tech dystopia.
Yeah, I mean, I think eventually you'll get some kind of UBI. I mean, I think that article that was published that went viral was probably onto something. That, like, you know how you started hearing rumors about COVID and then COVID hit and overnight your life was completely different? Well, it's going to be like what it is here, except it's not going to be like a virus that eventually they tell you, all right, put a shot in your arm and go back to work. We stole a few $1 trillion, and the corporations were able to, drive out the competition and bag a few trillion, so go back to work. This will be the new thing where, I think it will be a form of UBI, just like there's a form of UBI during the pandemic, because I think there will have to be for sustenance levels. I think there will be. But that's where you're really heading to is, labor is just becoming less and less necessary. And so there's going to be less and less of it. And that's a very tumultuous change to go through.
I think they're going to let people die.
I don't think they're going to let like mass numbers of people die.
It's what they do now.
I don't think so. Well,
it's what they do now, man.
On a grand,
look at all these fucking abandoned towns, man.
Oh, of course.
When your industry goes, there's no jobs. They don't come in to help you with no UBI. They let you drop dead.
No, but I think if you talk about like a COVID level event where it's just all at once, that just happens.
Well, it's not going to be all at once. It's going to be a few thousand AI jobs here, a few thousand AI jobs there.
Not the way that article was describing it. The way that article was describing it, it's like it's going to hit kind of like all at once. Like it's all going to happen very, very suddenly.
Are you talking about the one I almost covered? Is that the article you're talking about?
Yeah, where like these jobs are just going to vanish very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Where there's got to, I mean, not to say people aren't going to die of deprivation. People died of deprivation during COVID. I mean, that's the arrangement of the society. But I don't think they're just going to like pull support. I think they need certain support to keep things going, and that's what they will do. I think in a lot of ways, the pandemic was probably a test for that. Okay, all right, if we just give people unemployment insurance. Because that also keeps people where they're at. You talk about the consolidation of home ownership, corporations buying up all the houses. You give people a fixed income, you keep them as renters. You know what I mean? Like you stop that ladder of advancement. You just kind of impose a certain stasis. And I think that's pretty much long term what you're going to get. And under President Newsom, you'll get a government grant if you trans your 8-year-old.
That's what you're going to have to do.
Yeah, you'll get
if you want to get the UBI, you have to trans a family member.
There'll be certain incentives.
Or trans yourself.
Yeah, there will be
Trans
certain
yourself,
incentives.
you get double.
Yeah, exactly. There will be certain incentives for that. But yeah, basically, I mean, I think that's what it is. I mean, if you look, the thing of it is, like, if you look at the tech guys, like if you look at like guys like Elon, they want a UBI. You're running into like the new tech mafia understands you're going to need a UBI to have some like stability. But right now you have, and this is what was kind of like crazy and terrifying about the Trump coalition, and this is why I was especially afraid of what a second Trump term would be. Once you got those new tech guys who are let's automate everything, you marry them with like the old school like robber baron types like Howard Lutnick. That's where you get like what you're talking about. Like if this combination of people is in power forever, yeah, they'd probably let people die. I think that the tech people are like, no, you got to throw them something to keep a roof over their head. It's not a roof that they own. It's our house, but we need renters. We need people to fix the robots every now and then.
You notice they've been hiding Lutnick.
Yeah, no, he doesn't get a lot of FaceTime anymore. No. That's right.
Sir, our polling shows that every time you go on TV, anti-Semitism jumps by 37 points.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Vientikis, God will provide for Israel. They don't need us. Let a bunch of halo-wearing harp fuckers do all the work for it. Thank you. Vientikis, new bet. Will Keaton check the mail before the end of the month? Before the end of this month? Yeah, I think I will. I think I'll get up there. And check that mailbox. Stoop sign. Thank you, Vientikis. Normally, when my eyes start watering, it's because I'm in opioid withdrawal. I noticed my eyes watering, but then remembered I took my Suboxone an hour ago. My eyes were watering from the torture talk. Is that right? Sorry about that, Stoop sign. Sparky says, too bad China convinced Iran to stop before they finished off Israel, but I guess it's not up to Iran to solve one of America's biggest problems. There's still time, though. Let's hope. Yeah, I think, China, I don't think China wants war. I think that's why they didn't enter it.
Yep.
Technically, I would go anywhere. I just won't. Yes, that's right. Exactly. I would. Kuznetsky was saying UBI can be cut off when the citizenry dissents. Well, I mean, this is like, look, when you look at what the tech people were all about. See, back when the tech people were Democrats, this is what the conservatives were, making a lot of money, getting a lot of clicks, talking about. Social credit scores, 15-minute cities, all that.
Right.
They were very hip to that when Elon was voting for Joe Biden. But now that Elon's, supporting Donald Trump, all of a sudden you don't hear them talk about that anymore. But that's weird, right? How all the fear of like the new tech dystopia kind of went away when they went all in for Trump. But no, that to me is the vision. It's why 15...
I think they wanted Trump. Power is the real power wanted Trump.
Yeah. But that's really what the tech people
lulled those
are about.
people to sleep. Lulled the kind of people who would take over a courthouse with shotguns to sleep.
Yeah, 15-minute cities, all that. John 2017, I'm in the trash industry. No robots throwing cans anytime soon. We're losing good drivers because they can't get their CDL renewed. Love from Florida. We're losing good drivers because they can't get their CDL renewed.
Why? The immigration?
Yeah, no robots throwing cans anytime soon. Yeah, is that what it is? Is that what it is? Why can't they get their CDLs renewed? Interesting. All right. Thanks, everybody, very much for being here tonight. That's our show. We will be back in 5 minutes for the Q&A. We will be back.
I've got a fun intermission.
Okay, Russell's got a fun intermission tonight. Excellent. What's the intermission?
Well, a little bit about returning back to New York,
nice.
And some fun retro commercials and TV show intros.
Oh, my brother's watching the show tonight. He said he did go to the peak. So he did make it all the way to the top. All right. I apologize about that. He just texted me. So I guess he did climb all of Mount Fuji. That's pretty impressive. I assumed it was like Everest. I mean, I know it's not as high as Everest, but I assume like only the real experienced climbers can make it to the peak. I figure they had like an area where the noobs have to stop. And then if you really want to test, you really want to take your life in your hands, you go to the peak. But apparently, no. Apparently, he did go to the peak.
No. I mean, the mountain that I climbed in Sapa is the same height as that. But yeah, like you have to breathe. Like you have to stop and breathe or you will pass out. And it's scary if you push yourself too hard. You could go, you almost start to panic because like you have that feeling like you're not getting enough oxygen. You know, it's pretty, but if you just stop and take deep breaths, you'll like reoxygenate.
Huh. Interesting. All right, everybody. Well, that's our show. Thanks very much for being here. DoDissidents.com/rumble is where you go if you want to continue watching the show. We'll take a 5-minute break, and then we will take your call. So if you're a caller, please join that call-in queue right now. Once again, if you are a caller, you got to use the second link from the second email. It was sent a little after 7 p.m. Because of our tech difficulties, we had to redo all of our links. So the first link on the first email will not work. You got to use the second one that went out a little after 7 o'clock. I see some of you are already waiting in the queue, so some of you guys figured that out really well. Awesome. Good on you. You guys are going to survive the tech takeover because you're good at technology, because you figured out how to access the stream. Zamit, thanks for the $20. Are you tired of winning? Look at that. Oh, you gave us another $20 for your typo there. You said, are you tired of winning? And then you said, are you tired of winning? Thank you very much for that. Zamit 1969. Appreciate that very, very much. Thanks for your support, my friend. All right. We'll see you guys in 5 minutes if you're hanging out for the Q&A. If you're not hanging out for the Q&A, we'll see you Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube and Rumble. In the meantime, thanks to Jake for being in the booth tonight. Thanks to the mods for keeping the peace in the chat. Thanks to the YouTubers and the Rumblers. Smash the like button wherever you are. Smash the subscribe button. Smash that follow button. We'll see you when we see you next after this 5-minute break or Tuesday afternoon. Until whenever we see you again. Thanks for tonight. Be safe and be well.
Courage!
Please clap.